Hello Commanders, Commander Plater here, and welcome to today's live stream. Hope you're doing very well today and you guys are having a good Saturday. We're back here, it's the weekend, we've got some Elite Dangerous going on, we've got some people to talk to about some stuff and some things, which hopefully should be quite interesting. So today is another one of those the Friendos or Superfriendos Roundtable streams where we sit down, we have a chat with a few other creators, and we talk about the dev diary, things going on in Elite Dangerous. We have a bit of a chat about all that kind of stuff. We'll be focusing mainly around Dev Diary 2, which was released on Tuesday, even though it wasn't meant to be Tuesday. So we're going to be jumping into that. I'm going to be joined by Down to Earth Astronomy, Kaizen, and Witherspoon, which is the four of us. So it's not going to be the usual chaos. We've managed to ditch Burr for this one. We've also managed to bin off Alec Turner at the same time. So that's all good. That's fun. Weejay, you're saying you're still in the top 10 commanders on the CG? Blimey, well done. I have had to pick something that's going to chew through conflict zones a little bit quicker than I've gone for before. So I've kind of changed my build up a little bit. But everyone who's watching, I'm going to do my best to keep an eye on chat whilst we're talking. So if you do have any questions, do let me know, and I can feed them in and pull them into the chat that we're talking about. I will also encourage everyone to hit the like button nice and early on YouTube as well if you haven't. It would be much appreciated if you did. It's a very quick thing that you guys can do in order to help me out and help support the channel. I promise, and it's a genuine, real, proper promise, that it won't hurt at all in any way, shape or form. I just want to make sure. Sorry, I'm pulling that face because Twitch told me that I wasn't live, and I'm like, wait, here I am. Here I am. So we can't do the normal bit of babble. HJ, I've 100% asked already. I've asked Frontier when we can actually see some gameplay. It's probably still early days, and there's probably some things they're still tweaking. And I know they'll want to save that for the big reveal. So, fingers crossed. Incognito, yeah, I definitely am live on Twitch. I was like, what's going on there? But yeah, we're going to have a good old chat about everything. Now, it is worth remembering that I do have contact with Frontier, and I do pass some things along. I give them feedback. I also ask questions to them in order to get answers, and I try and give them to you guys as soon as I get them. And then that's basically how it works. There are some things they cannot tell me, and they will not tell me anything that they do not want you to know. So bear that in mind. I have to say that super clear, because I don't have any secrets at all. That's how that works. So I'm hoping we're all ready. We're just waiting on oh, I'm the last one to join. So I'm gonna go live now with the rest of the guys.
Should say, just for the benefit of everybody's audiences, that Commander Burr and Rini are unable to attend. They are in the middle of an event for their community, and yes. Commander Alec Turner was unable to attend. He is in the middle of a bunch of stuff, and yeah, so just
but very much invited.
Oh yeah,
I think that's
absolutely
fun.
Honestly, I'm glad Burr couldn't make it. It'd be nice to have a week off from him giving me abuse on live stream. So I think it would be totally wonderful.
I'm reading a note here. I just got a private message from Commander Burr. He said, Plater, you're not good looking or clever. I just wanted to make sure that everybody knows.
So that. Burr is a liar as well as coming up with crap insults. Okay, right, that's totally fine.
Hello.
Okay, that's should we dive into it? Do a quick round of introductions. Do you guys want to introduce yourself? Kai?
Sure. Hi, I'm Kaizen from Elite Week. I drink a lot and play spaceship games. Next.
I'm Commander Plater. You might know me from YouTube, from Twitch. I like Elite Dangerous and other space games, and very opinionated despite the fact I shouldn't be.
Okay, I'm Commander Witherspoon, and I do Galnet News Digest on both Lave Radio and Hutton Orbital Radio, and on a YouTube channel. And I very occasionally play Elite as well.
actually have time to go in game from time to time.
Yeah.
And I'm Asper from Down to Earth Astronomy from both YouTube and Twitch. Okay, let's dive into it. We're going to be talking about the second Dev Diary. I assume most people here will have seen it by now, and if you guys are like me, you've seen it multiple times. I just want to do a quick rundown of the topic we're going to go over today, so people know what they can expect. We're going to be starting by talking about the new social hubs, station interiors. Then we're going to talk about social hubs versus the new settlements, which seems to be two very, very distinctly different areas. Talk about the new spacesuits, and then there's some other bits and pieces towards the end, smaller topics that I think we should dive into there. And yeah, that's going to be hopefully the next couple of hours. And again, you guys, you're more than welcome to just like break in whenever you have something, and maybe we can pull in some questions from chat as we go along. But let's start with the social hubs. We know right now that there's going to be 3 different types of social hubs. There's going to be the planet ports, the spaceports, and the outposts. Spaceports being the larger space stations, outposts being the smaller ones, planet ports being everything planet-side, it seems. I don't know about you guys. I was a little surprised. I thought there would be more different variants than what it seems we're getting.
I don't know about that, because we're pretty much, when you think about it, that's the, if you're talking about like the main heading for the different types of stations that we get, is we get the spaceports, outposts, and planet ports. But then, obviously, within them, you're going to have your Coriolis, your Orbis, your Ocellus, of those types. And I don't know whether, I mean, we've only seen a brief bit of one that's located in an asteroid station, and I'm hoping that they will vary depending on faction ownership and industry type in them. I'm really hoping for that. I might be disappointed.
Yeah, they said this, at least if we're going to take the Polygon articles for if you're going to believe what they said in the Polygon article, and I know some people will dispute that and say you shouldn't believe it, but at least in that, there was stated that there was going to be 3 different types, and the only thing varying might be like color themes or like icons on the banner based on the faction that owns them.
I strongly recommend that you should believe what is listed in this Polygon article. It seems, number one, it seems way better sourced than some of the previous stuff that we've seen. It seems more accurate, and it jives with key pieces of information that we've gotten directly from Frontier. On the live stream on Thursday, Art, the wording that he said when asked about the stations is, absolutely, we're going to have stations. We're going to have these various stations. So you've got the outposts, which are the shoebox type stations for people, for people that are like, that's how we call them, the little stations, the ones that you can't take the large ship to. You've got the starports, which are the big stations that we're used to, and you've got the planetary ports, which are whenever you go to a place now that you go and you land your ship. It's those types. And he said, and they will be differentiated by, he said there's going to be some sort of efficiency, they're going to be similar, you'll kind of know what's what, but they'll be differentiated by all of their what do you call it, like the banners and the clothing of the people and whatever. So that strongly jives with what the Polygon article said.
Yeah, I think at least that part of it, I think is pretty solid. That's my take on it, at least. No, I just thought that, I mean, it makes sense that you have these, like, let's take the Coriolis type station, and it's a proven design, and it's been replicated a million times across the galaxy. It's everywhere. So it would make sense those areas were very similar. And yes, some people might like to have different plants in different locations, but you would expect the general layout of them to be very similar. But I was half expecting that maybe some of the larger stations, like the Orbis type station, would then maybe look differently. I don't know.
Yeah, I suppose the docking area in all of the large starports is pretty much the same, isn't it?
That's a fair point. Yeah, okay.
And the bit we're going to be walking around in will be that docking area, and probably a fairly small part of that docking area by the sound of it.
Yes.
So at some point in the future, I want to walk around one of those habitation rings, the Stanford rings, but it might not be quite yet.
Yeah, I think that's coming down the line. The Polygon article did have a tantalizing little extra bit. It said it talked about that there will be traveling in elevators, which they did show from the concept art. They showed behind the the taxi service place.
Yeah, Apex.
Apex.
Yes.
Yeah, they said that there will be traveling around in elevators. Based on the way the concourse is laid out, I strongly suspect that the elevators from the hangar area are going to spit you out right at the bottom of that concourse downstairs, and then from there you can choose to go up whichever stairway you want.
I don't think we'll have the kind of city transport that you have in Star Citizen. I think you'll get into an elevator and you will pop up in this sort of public area. I noticed again in the Apex Interstellar counter with the "Come Fly with Me" sort of banner and all that sort of stuff. The overhead signage says turn left levels 1 to 4 for Apex Interstellar, and levels 5 to 8 turn right for Frontline. So there's definitely somewhere where you go, and then the next piece of art they showed was 2 elevators, one with the door open, one with the door closed, and again telling you which levels to go to find these facilities.
Yeah.
So you guys are thinking that we're gonna. So let's just take it from. I'm now arriving at a station. I'm flying through the hangar and I land on my landing pad. So you think we're gonna go out of the ship and basically land in, and walk out in the hangar and walk around outside?
Absolutely.
And then take an elevator up the concourse.
I'm sorry. Art said so in as many words on the Thursday stream. He said, "You will seamlessly be able to leave and enter your ship and walk around your ship in the hangar."
Presumably not the interiors, though, because we've already...
No, he said not the interior.
So I guess you come down your ladder into the hangar, and the hangar is the last shot in the the Dev Diary video.
Yes.
It shows a Cobra in a hangar. It's a bigger hangar. It's a more spacious hangar. It's got better lighting, and it's got the steps sort of out at the bottom. So I guess you walk down those. You can walk around the hangar, walk around your ship, and then you get into a lift when you want to go to the social area. That's my guess.
That's actually just being able to walk around our ships in the hangar would be pretty cool.
Well, no, that's not a maybe thought. That was specifically said by Art in this stream.
Okay.
So I see Plater's light keep lighting up, and I want to say something, but I want to let him say something.
My light's possibly lighting up because my mic's super sensitive and my hostess is kind of squeaky. But I will say, what we do have to remember, and this is so important, and this is something we typically get roasted for in my comment section when people come back and they watch these, is that everything that we have seen is pre-alpha, subject to change, and is rendered in engine, but is not specifically stated as being gameplay. And that's very, very important. It's in-engine footage as opposed to gameplay footage. So I think where we've seen the hangar for where the Cobra is, that is a case of being, yep, cool, it is a hangar, but it is a render of one, of what it will look like, as opposed to what it will look like when we actually play. I think it's very important.
I strongly disagree with that statement. I mean, I agree, you're right, 100% about the be aware, yada, yada, yada. But the conclusion that you draw, I think, is dead wrong, and here's why. On the Thursday stream...
Which bit? You can't say my conclusion when my conclusion is that it is pre-rendered, not gameplay. So are you saying that's wrong?
No. What I'm saying is that you're saying, like, hey, this is just here as a thing to see it, that's lovely. I'm saying on Thursday stream at the 54-minute, 50-second mark, Art said you can walk around your ship in the hangar, and it's seamless that you can walk inside and outside of your ship. Just like going in and out of buildings, no loading screen. So that, to me, is a crystal clear indication that we will, in fact, this is my suspicion, and this is whatever. I think you fly in, you land at your landing pad, the whole pad elevates down a level, and the little thing closes above you, right? I think at that point, and this part I have no evidence for, this is just my gut. I think at that point you will physically get out of your seat and walk in your ship, just the cockpit, not the rest of the ship, just the cockpit, because they have those rendered already. And you will, because they're fully, every ship is fully, the cockpit part is fully already done.
So you're saying you could go through the door and then you find yourself at the top of the steps?
I think when you open that door isn't going to be like into a hallway, it's going to be into an elevator. You open that door into the elevator, it lowers you 10 feet, and then it puts you that, when the door opens up again, you're standing right at the top of the steps and you walk down.
Don't you think it's going to be a little bit too many elevators? So I go out of my seat, I go to an elevator that takes me to a hangar, then I go to another elevator that takes me to the concourse. I don't know, you might be right, you might very well be right, but...
I just think, so I can't say, that part is my hunch, but what we know, because it was specifically said, unless Art is mistaken or lying, and I don't believe either of those to be true, we will walk down the steps of our ship onto that hangar area that they showed, and we will be walking around it. And then from there, we'll get into an elevator or a tram or a something. There'll be some kind of a thing, some mechanism that then spits you out into the bottom of that concourse that they showed us from the Dev Diary 2.
Yeah.
That's cool, but I didn't say we wouldn't. So, that's the thing. I didn't say that we wouldn't get that. I just said that we have to remember that what we have seen so far is all pre-rendered stuff and not actually gameplay, so it may not be representative of what we actually experience. And it's very important for hype control.
It's an ambition.
I'm just saying that we will experience the walking around.
Oh no, I think I believe that because it's been said in places. Like I'm with that. I mean, it has been said that we will be walking around them, and yes, they do look different because we have gaps at the back. So what we have seen definitely looks different from what we have, and it's unusual for Frontier to show us something that's in-engine that can't be experienced in some way by players. So in-engine stuff they're normally very, very good about, because why they put the work into making it and they'll not be able to do it, that kind of thing.
Agree.
Oh, bigger ship. So that's if you guys, unless you have more with the getting in and getting out of stations, I guess for me it really depends on how long those elevator rides is going to be, because we all know in games elevators are essentially going to act as loading screens, because you're in a small confined area that takes up no memory at all. Gives a game time to load the next area while you're in the elevator. Yeah, and yes, it's going to feel seamless. So I guess maybe the elevator ride is going to depend on your rig. Faster machine speeds, faster elevators. I don't know.
I can see that happening.
A little bit like when you jump to a new system.
I think it also could be that whether your system loads the next thing in 0.5 seconds or 3.1 seconds, they make a 3.5 second elevator ride so everybody gets the same experience, and they hide the fact that that's a load. Yeah.
Or if there are already too many people in the social hub, perhaps your elevator breaks down for a bit.
Maintenance. No, okay. To Frontier's credit, they have been very, very good at hiding loading scenes in Elite.
Yes. Hyperspace. Yes.
I think once you know where they are, though, that's the only thing.
Once you spend enough hours, you know where they are. You know, like when you drop out of glide, you know that the ship kind of hangs there for a few seconds. Yes, that's the loading screen. You know where they are, but they're very well hidden.
Yeah, you've got hyperspace, glide, and you've got your ship on the elevator going down into the station.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Now, of course, these social hubs, and I think it's important to note that it seems the whole station interior seems to be what Frontier is referring to as the social hub. That's the whole area, as far as I understand.
They said it very, very plainly. They said that the new 3 social hubs are planet ports, star ports, and outposts, and in addition to that, there will be settlements. So that isn't apparently considered one of their quote-unquote social hubs, but is a newer, sort of bigger, more dynamic thing than those social hubs. And it is important to note that from the Polygon article, Gareth Hughes said you're talking about like all of the outposts, all of the shoeboxes are now that, all of the Coriolis and whatever are now that, all of the land bases. So you're talking about essentially 50,000 of them in the galaxy of the quote unquote player social hubs, which are the 3 that we already have in game. In addition to that, they're adding over 1,000 settlements to the game, and those will be dotted among the tenuous atmosphere planets and the existing horizon landable planets.
Yeah, we're talking many thousands.
Yes, well, they just said over 1,000 in the article, but I could believe many thousands.
Yeah. And we can be all pretty sure that they're going to hide stuff in those settlements. There's going to be settlements where you're going to go in and find, hold on. I would be surprised if they didn't, at least.
There'll be definitely a few that are properly hand-picked and designed, like fully designed from the ground up. I imagine there'll be some that will be templates, because there'll be things to steal, and they're going to have to place where they are,
and people to kill.
So let's go ahead and talk about some of the services that's going to be available in these social hubs. What we know so far is the Pioneer Supply, the Inter-Astra, the Frontline Support, the Apex Interstellar Transport, the Vista Genomics, the Black Market, and a bar. Now, if we go over them, I don't think most of them is pretty straightforward. Like the Pioneer Supply as a store, buy stuff and things. Like I assume that's where you get most of the upgrades for your ship, or your suit, and whatever other cosmetics you can maybe you can cosmetics there as well. I don't know. But I think the most interesting one, at least what I think is interesting, is the Apex Interstellar Transport, the new taxi service for unfit players. How do you see the mechanics around these working? I mean, we know there's going to be.
Hello there.
We know it's not going to be instant.
No, they said it won't be instant. Annoyingly, in Devdari 2, the bit that they play about this is clearly the second half of a sentence, and it says something like, "And for these players, it will offer an ability to travel between sort of different social hubs and different stations, and those players, I assume, are the ones who don't have ships." But it didn't explicitly say that. It sounds like it's going to be sort of given routes. They did say it was specifically within jump range. One of the graphics they had showed a particular route on the overhead display, which included places like Sol and Sirius.
It literally had Sol to Lave, Lave to Achenar, Achenar to Sirius.
That's the fellow, yeah. So there may be routes which you can follow. There may be specific sort of things you can. What I'm not sure is whether or not you can hire a ship.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they had a Viper advert, and I don't think of Viper as a taxi. I think it more as a kind of self-drive. So you might be able to self-drive and land yourself somewhere else.
Was that a Viper advert at Apex, or was that a Viper advert within the station?
No, it was at Apex. It literally at the Apex Interstellar. It literally said there were a couple of signs. The first one said "Visit DSO," like a vacation spot. The next one said Apex Interstellar. The next one said "Fly with Viper," and the next one had the route of Sol, Lave, etc., etc.
So you're thinking it's more like I don't think it's going to be like ship rental, where you just rent a ship to fly yourself. Pretty sure it's going to be.
No, they specifically said this is where you will not fly, because they said that you will be actually sitting like in the multi-crew seat and watching the flight as it goes by. It will happen in some sort of a real time, but they were very careful. Frontier was very, very careful to say that we're not like going to comment yet on exactly how the mechanics of that work. I think they're still tweaking that behind the scenes and trying to find this sweet spot between They don't want it to be instance because then it feels weird and immersion breaking. They don't want it to be super long because then it's tedious and frustrating. They want to find that sweet spot in the middle.
Yeah.
And I think also of particular interest to Apex Interstellar are two key things that were mentioned. The first behind the ticket taker lady at the Apex Interstellar counter is another poster which shows a Viper flying in atmosphere. It's already on approach. It's low. It's close to the planet. And then there are 3 key points in the vista, in the background, that are listed, and each of them, like, it's 3 little settlements, and they each have like a circle with a line coming up, and then like a code, like a landing code. So like you know, indicating that it's not just going to be you're taking a ship to you know, from Seoul to Lave. It could also be you're taking a ship from, you know, Akinar 3 to 18 other locations on Akinar 3, or like something more closer to home type situation. They did say specifically, Art said, when you pick up a mission, and I think also Pierce said it, when you pick up a mission to go, you know, scavenge a wreck, you may fly your ship there, or you could take the Apex Interstellar there, which indicates to me that it's not just like you go to the ticket counter and it's like, do you want to fly to Paris, London, or Rome? It's you could Paris, London, or Rome, or also this kind of custom bespoke spot that's just fucking 42 miles that way.
So it's gonna be more like going out and like getting a taxi than
an
it
Uber.
is. Yeah, basically it's more like an Uber than it's like route, like plane flight, where you have like airport here, we fly from one airport to the other, and it's up to you to get the rest of the way. So
correct.
Yes, so more space Uber. That would actually make sense, and that also kind of talks into the whole thing that you're gonna be able to play the game completely on foot without owning a spaceship ever. You could play it without ever setting foot inside your own spaceship.
It brings to mind the fact that it's very much going to have to be like Uber, because let's say I am Commander Newbie X and I get my very first mission to go scavenge a wreck that's a planet over in the middle of nowhere, right? And I say, well, I don't want to learn how to fly a ship just yet. I'm having fun with the scavenging. I'll play with ships tomorrow. Today, I just want to scavenge. So I hire an Uber to fly me to the ship, right? At that point, I better be able to whip out my phone and call an Uber to get back, or I'm kind of screwed.
Long walk.
That's an interesting point, because there's been no mention of that whatsoever. We've had a lot of you can go to Apex in the station, and then you can get your transport from there. But there's been no, they will take you there and back, or anything like that.
Come back for me in 2 hours.
I think it would have to be, by definition, sort of just logically, it has to be one of 2 options. Either A, you book a round trip and the guy will wait for you there, like landed for an hour, or till you come back. Or B, you have the ability to whip out your iPhone and call up your Apex and say, and then you get your little Uber marker saying, it'll be there in 3.5 minutes.
Yes, exactly.
The only thing I'll say is that if it's pre-booked, I was like, Uber is kind of on demand versus pre-booked. So I feel like it's got, to me anyway, it's got more of this feeling of, it's like National Express or Megabus here in the UK.
Fair.
You know, it's that kind of thing. But we don't know until we get our hands on it. And I'm 100% going to abuse it in any way I can. And I've just already decided that I'm going to reset one of my accounts that I have, and I'm doing a purely only on foot gameplay, because that way you're going to be able to get the benefit of all the new gameplay without thinking of well, why am I doing this? I'm only getting 50,000 credits for it, when I can go and make that just by jumping through a system by accident. You know, it's that kind of.
I would encourage you to keep your mind open to the possibility that, so in normal games, in MMOs, whenever you release the new expansion, like the new missions, the new content always seems to pay better than the previous stuff. I don't know how they're going to do it, because it's such a bringing it down in scope to, like, from a massive scale to a much smaller scale, but somehow, and well, we have the answer to this from Frontier. it's not going to be that you're doing the job for 50,000 credits. They've said specifically there's going to be new sort of forms of what do you call it?
Ultimate resource thing.
Yeah, it's sort of money equivalent. So whether I don't know whether that's just going to be that they pay you entirely in engineering materials for your footy stuff, or whether they pay you in planet dollars. But there's going to be some new form of currencies that are tracked. So I don't think you're going to feel bad about, oh, I'm doing this mission for a much reduced rate. I think you're going to be doing it for a sort of exclusive rate that it's like, oh yes, I need these things. I have billions of credits. Who cares about that? But I need 43 baubles and 82 Quiznarts and whatever.
Now I'm thinking, do you guys, so if we go with, if we assume it's going to be like Uber, do you think we can take other people with us? So basically they would say, I'm going to go on that ship and you're going to allow people on board. They're going to sit in your multi-crew seat and you can then drop them off at another location.
Who knows?
Or if it's pre-booked transport, is it the case of you're going to get sat next to the nutter on the bus? Because there's always a nutter on the bus, and if you can't spot them, it's you.
I know of somebody who wants to ride with you, Plater.
Shh,
never mind.
we don't talk about that.
Okay.
Right now we have the we have the fuel rats, we have the hull seals, and who knows? When Odyssey, maybe we're gonna have like space Uber, where people gotta go and pick you up when people crash their ship somewhere and they can't get out. Like, okay, pick you up, fly you somewhere.
That would be very, very cool, but I think we're going to see this as a role fulfilled by NPCs. I would love to see that, Astro, but I think that is a little
maybe
a little of a stretch on scope. But I would love that. I would also love, though, on a very similar line, I would also love for you to be able to put out a contract to have somebody fly stuff out to your fleet carrier somewhere, but we haven't seen that in game as of yet. But I didn't want to derail the conversation, but I wanted to point out that there are going to be not just big planet ports, but you can choose custom locations for your Apex Interstellar drop-off location. And then there's the last thing as it pertains to Apex Interstellar that I don't know if you guys caught or if you thought it was as interesting as I did, but when they first mentioned it, when he first mentions Apex Interstellar in the dev diary itself, Pierce says, and one of our new features and our new characters are Apex Interstellar. And to me, I'm like, why the hell is he talking about a new character? So like, I think it'll be super weird if every Apex Interstellar everywhere, if it's the same, Judy behind the counter, that seems super, super weird. That it's like, yeah, how come Professor, what was the guy from Pokemon, Professor, whatever? It's like, why is he in every last station everywhere in the galaxy? I think he's excitedly talking about, and they sort of cut around there. I think there's going to be there seems to be a lot of new shakeup and stuff on the power play and engineer side here now with this latest thing in the Galnet and CG sort of world. I think we're going to see new engineers, and I think we're going to see new power play representatives, whether they're soaking up existing spots now that are going to be removed as part of this narrative that's going on right now, or whether they're going to be taking up entirely new spots. I think you're going to see a new power play person that is tied to that Apex Interstellar. How Leon Ree is tied to Sirius Corp, I think you're going to see a new power play person who is tied to that place, and their benefit is going to be very, very big for the on-foot players, which is, oh yeah, you can get a discount of like 30% on all your taxi rides or something.
Well, you definitely require engineering, don't you? Because they said as much. Higher level upgrades to your suits will require engineering. And that's going to be something that's very specific to Odyssey.
Well, just to be clear, I agree with you 100%, Wotherspoon, but they didn't say the words engineering. They said...
They didn't say the words power play either.
No, they didn't. You're right. I said that it was a speculation on my part. But
I honestly think that what we're talking about is it's going to be something like this is the person you talk to book your ride, and that's simply a new character. I think that's what we're getting. or if it is the same person in every single location, it's like Johnny Cab from Total Recall, that kind of thing, where it's the same person that you speak to book your transport when you're off and you're gone. I honestly think that's all it'll be, because we have to be realistic about the amount of work that would involve to have new characters for everything in absolutely every way, and also at the same time they're not taking away any of the existing in-cockpit gameplay. So it would be odd for them to change that. And power play at the moment is all space-based, and they've made no mention of it being changed whatsoever in Odyssey in any way, shape or form. So I would say
they have the ability to automatically generate NPC characters based on parameters like group, faction, and system state, or whatever. Or maybe, I don't know, stuff like that. So I mean, that if they can automatically generate them, then it feels odd why they would then put the exact same character model at all the Apex Interstellars.
Oh, well, it would just be a reskin, but the same thing. You know, it'd be exactly the same thing.
A different character. But if they were to have the same ticket taker at every Apex, the same bar girl at every bar, the bartender, whatever, if they had the same checkout clerk at every Frontier store, I think that would be a miss. That would. I
think they mean that as this is a character in the sense that it's a character that may have different skins on it, but it's performing a particular function. It's a character type, if you like.
Yeah, like the guards in Skyrim are all the same character, but they look slightly different. Same thing.
Maybe. We'll see.
Okay. So, there's one thing that I found a little, I don't know if it's odd, but curious, is when you look at the list, they've provided a full list of the Polygon article about the different services that will be available. And they listed everything like the one we just went through. But the Pilot Lounge, the bar, was not mentioned there as a service. And that made me think, is this just going to be like a place? Is it what is like nothing to do other than it's a bar because the station needs to have a bar? Do you think it's just...
Where do you think the black market will be?
Yeah,
people discussed that, saying, for sure that's going to be a counter where it just says black market in big letters.
No. I think your bar is a place where I don't think you're going to be able to quote unquote purchase drinks. I think it's not a store that you purchase anything of. I think it's a setting, and I think it will be a setting in which you will have various contacts that you will make contact with for things. I think there will be some CD mission givers. I think there will be a black market. I think there will be a maybe perhaps there's a in that place somewhere there's a what do you call it, interstellar factor, maybe, where like you can go and see somebody and hello, I gotta settle up my fines or whatever. And I think that I think there's a bunch of what I think there will be is a bunch of contacts in that location. What I want, what I would love, and this is a stretch, and this is 100% this isn't even so much what I suspect is what a wish list. I would love to be able to sit down and play poker. Like, you could literally play poker with another player there. There's other games that do that. You got in Final Fantasy 14, you go into the area and you sit down and you play what they call triple triad, and you can play against other players. It would be cool.
Right.
I don't know.
So what I think it actually is a place where there will be around the bar, there'll be 5 or 6 people, and like this one is your black market guy contact, this one might be an engineer, this one might be a like I said, other various contacts of kinds.
That sounds highly plausible.
I mean, but I have said that we will be going to mission givers, not just mission boards. So it is possible that we would get tip-off missions from people in a bar. I think it's most likely where you talk to people. You're not going to get a tip-off mission from someone. You just walk past and they go, "Hey, by the way," on the way past, it's going to be like there has to be the correct setting.
The drunk guy at the bar spoke a little bit about something he shouldn't, and then all of a sudden you're like, okay.
Oh, yeah.
I 100% agree that I think there will be some shady mission givers here and there that are sort of more like possible, like RNG chance that they sort of create something there. the main mission givers, your like 7 faction mission givers for the station, I think they showed those on the part of the dev diary where they showed the mission board itself. You saw several people that were just sort of standing with their back to a wall in a weird spot. The one guy in the far background in the full black suit, he might as well have had an exclamation point over his forehead. He was straight up, he screamed mission giver, that he was just standing there by a wall for no reason. I think your main quote unquote mission givers that are going to be the equivalent of what you see on the board there are going to be that you can interact with the board or you can go interact with them face to face. And I think that sort of more weird one-off shady missions might be got at the bar.
The missions sound really interesting, don't they? Again, this is, I think, from the Polygon article. It says that on-foot missions are going to be much more detailed than the sort we get at the moment. Mission givers have dialogue, they're going to talk to you, the objectives are going to feel personalized to you specifically within the game because of your rank and your reputation with the different NPC factions, and the objectives. Fair enough, the objectives are personalized, but more importantly, there's going to be this kind of moral tension that you're actually going to have to go up and potentially kill somebody by shooting them, not just by blowing up a spaceship. You're actually going to need to go and sort of stand.
Put a gun to their face.
Excuse me, are you? Oh yes, you are. Bang.
And
I'm
the
looking
other
forward to that.
and the other thing, which is a very big component that's new that they're putting in here, is they said specifically the way that those missions are going to work is they're going to offer you the mission for a price, and there is some dialogue option where you can negotiate or barter to try to increase your price to get paid more for the mission.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
It sounded to me that it was like a low, middle, or high option. You can either go for the, I really want to go for a stretch goal on this one, or I want to go for the middling one, or I'll go for what he offered me.
Basically, like a difficulty curve, you can say I want an easy, medium, or hard mission, and then you're rewarded accordingly.
Well, it's not the difficulty of the mission. It's more kind of that, hey, your rep's high, or you're an elite sort of combat person. So we'll pay you a bit more because we know you can do the job.
There could be bonuses for and if you take out this many other people along the way, I'll give you a bonus.
Yeah.
Just the same way we do with assassination missions or with your passenger missions, where you get that option of the, hey, pick me up 6 tons of washing machines. That kind of thing.
Get me a hot mug.
Get me 6 tons of clothes right now. What?
And you have that one passenger in the luxury cabin, and suddenly he wants 2 cubic meters of whiskey or something.
Yeah,
they didn't elaborate on the structure of it, but they did say that there are going to be dialogue options and the ability to negotiate for what your pay ends up being. I very much agree with Wotherspoon's assessment that it could be very much like a Skyrim or kind of SWTOR, where they would have not SWTOR, the old KOTOR, where they would have like, you could try to like, I want to go for a little more of this, and then they might tell you no, or they might whatever. But yes, it's going to be, that's the point that I just wanted to add to the conversation, is there is going to be some form of like mechanic in there that is in play. And lastly, we should definitely point out that Frontier made it very clear for those people who are like, I don't like the sound of this. I don't want this. This is a hassle. I just want to land, click on the board, get my 5 missions, and GTFO. You will still have that option. Both systems will be in play. You can do whichever one you like.
Yeah, they're not going to remove anything. They're not going to remove your ability to do missions from the mission board as you know it today.
Correct.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, well, bar sounds very interesting to me. When they didn't mention it, it just seemed a little odd.
I think because they were mentioning the store services, and the bar isn't a store service, the bar is a location. It's a subtle but distinct difference.
Yeah, okay.
And also it's not separate from where you're going to be getting mission givers as well. We've had that confirmation. So it's in the same area. It's not like you're going to enter the bar, it's going to be a completely different spot, or when you get out of your ship, you choose to go to the bar or the social area. It's they're all in the same place. That is what has been said as well. It's all within the same area.
Well, we've seen that in the pictures, haven't we? That as you walk into the lower kind of part of the social area, there's signs that point to all these 6 services, and you just kind of follow the signs, and they're all within easy walking distance as long as you can climb steps. It's a lot of steps.
Yeah, they don't seem to be ADA compliant, but okay. Yeah.
So what's your take on... So we know that at least according to the law, there's no artificial gravity in Elite, and that is solved relatively well in the stations because the hangars are rotating. And planet services, that makes sense. Do you think we'll see a variety of gravity there? And what about the shoebox stations?
Yes,
Yeah,
that is... Go ahead.
Magboats.
No, I mean, it's a really interesting question for the Hutton truckers, because we have Hutton Orbital, and it's going to have a bar area, and are we going to be floating around in it?
So, with regard to the larger... So, planet ports, this isn't an issue. That's a different whatever. With regard to starports, I contend that you can hand wave it away and say it's not an issue, in the sense that the inner part of the structure of those stations, with the Coriolis, it's rotating, which you can use to create an artificial gravity.
Can I just say though that the place where they've put this thing is on a huge, great big stalk, which is very, very close to the central axis for the station, where there would be 0 gravity.
So
no, it's not there though, is it?
I think it's like half a G. It's not that much, but it's like half a G.
Yeah.
Okay.
So here you have to keep in mind what I call the behemoth effect, which is if you look in the expanse in the behemoth, that center part that rotates, even not on the far ring, even on the center part, will create a small bit of gravity, which will allow you to operate.
You see what I mean though? If you're absolutely on the spinning axis, then there's no gravity effectively because the station's spinning around you.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that you're losing sight of the perspective of like the scale of it, the scope of it it's so huge that even if you're on the inner part of the barrel, like I said,
if you're on the inner part of the barrel, you're at about half a G. When you're on the outer part of the barrel, it's slightly more than that. It's a 2 kilometer diameter, isn't it?
And that's enough. That's enough to.
Oh, absolutely, yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so but here's the things that I think they may have overlooked, and maybe an issue that they're going to need to address somehow is, number one, I don't think those asteroid bases rotate the way the Coriolis does.
They rotate very slowly.
Number two, the Orbis stations do not rotate. They're solid. The rings on the outer end rotate. So the Orbis station, I don't think it is.
They do rotate.
I'm pretty sure everything, they all rotate, yeah.
Fair. Okay. All right. So then, but where it's going to be a huge question is on the outposts, the shoebox stations. If the shoebox stations, if the Hutton Orbital and all of the little outpost stations, if those have the same plants and the same this and the same that, that's going to be, and if everything isn't sort of strapped down or in some way secured, that's going to be a big sort of, whoops, you guys messed that up because...
All done with magnets.
Yeah, it's all magnets. Everything's going to be magnets.
I have an issue with the
magnetic plants. Okay.
Magnetic. People always go with you just put magnetic shoes on.
Try walking in them.
Work like gravity, unless you have a constant magnetic field in the whole, not just at the floor. There should be a constant magnetic field in the whole concourse, and there should be the same from floor to ceiling, because otherwise you're gonna have that effect that you lift your boot and you have to spend a lot of effort just to get the boot off the floor, and as you put it down it will be no gravity, clock, and your boot just slams into the floor.
I have a solution. It's Rogue, and honestly I'm surprised no sci-fi writers have ever tried to justify this, but there is enough force being pushed out of the air conditioning on the ceiling to provide 1G of resistance evenly, and what you've got is actually micro pores in the ceilings and the floor that allow the transport of the air, so it gets pulled out and recycled and pushed back in, and that way we maintain it. And because it's constant, and it's constant in one direction in one way, it essentially works like gravity and doesn't cause your drinks to fly out of your drink when you move it around because it's constant and even. Because in 1,000 years, it would work.
God forbid if you had a piece of paper, though. But no, so Astro, because you don't watch The Expanse or you're just starting, let me kind of, the mag boot concept as they explain it in there, and they actually do a decent little job of explaining it, is you have these boots that are almost like pumps, like girls' shoes, where those are the pumps where they're not like high heels, but they're kind of that middle ground. And as you're walking, you lean forward and back with your heel, and when you lean back, it'll like click it off, and then you can lift up your foot to take the next step. And then when you put your weight on the forward of the foot and it clicks again, so it's like, it's a weird little, if you just
so you can turn it on as you expect it again.
It's basically has a little on-off switch built into the boot that as you take each step, there's a mechanism for doing that. But that does not in any way deal with stuff like you go to Apex Interstellar and the lady's got, she puts her iPad down on the table, or she's got a pen on the table, or you go to the bar and people just put
their hair
down on a napkin.
Floating all over the place as well.
Hair, all of these things I think that I don't know if they took that gravity question into account for the again, you can wave it away on planet ports, no problem. You can wave it away on starports, no problem. You cannot wave it away on outpost. And I would be not surprised if they didn't take it into effect based on the fact that when fleet carriers came out, you see in the background there lots of different boxes and stuff kind of sitting around, and when asked about it on Lave Radio, the dev's response was, "What? Oh, they're strapped down." Or magnets or something, and it was like it was very haphazard.
Have you noticed, by the way, that in the agricultural stations, they've got these kind of spires with lots of plant trays on them that sort of move up and down, and they're all upside down.
Yeah.
They're pointing out towards the hub of towards the rim of the station. They should be pointing up towards the hub. So somebody somewhere in the art department has not fully learned the lesson of how gravity works.
Well, I think they were looking at it for like, what looks pretty, and not what's functional and proper. It is very, very pretty, but it's not, as you say, Wotherspoon. If you were to try to model how you would use real gravity on a platform like that, you would face it into the hub so that you get the gravity effect that you want, as opposed to the way that it's there. What would happen is, as soon as you turned it on, all of the dirt and the plants would all come immediately out of the floor and go clump onto the bottom of the bowl of your ceiling. Yeah.
Sadly, yes. But we speculate about this, obviously, because we've only seen Freeholm. That's the only sort of social hub we've seen so far. All of that Dev Diary 2 was all shot inside Freeholm.
Correct.
So that's an asteroid base. We haven't seen a Coriolis. We haven't seen an Orbis. We haven't seen an outpost. We haven't seen a planetary base either, except in just very briefly in some of the static shots.
No,
in Dev Diary 1.
That wasn't a planetary port. That was
that a settlement?
Different.
Right.
That
Okay.
was different. That was the settlement Astor's Hope 2.
In Dev Diary 2, it's definitely Astor's Hope. Yes. Okay. Right. So in fact, we've only seen two locations that we're aware of in Dev Diary 2, which is Astor's Hope and Freeholm, yeah, that's right.
Correct.
It took me a while. It wasn't until right at the very end of watching the video, when you're right at the back of the kind of entrance hallway, and you can look up to the ceiling and see the glass. You can see the mail slot through that, and that's the point at which I realised that's inside Freeholm.
So when I went through the video, I wasn't 100% sure that it was the same place at first until I started breaking down all of the shots, and it actually takes you, if you note the key people that are standing places and then like a thing on the wall or whatever, you can lock into position. So from where I am positing is the entryway from the hangar that deposits you into the bottom of the concourse. There is nothing on the bottom floor of note. If you go up the steps immediately to the left, not the back split stairway, but the steps immediately to the left, the very first thing you have is a hallway to your left, which is the back area with elevators for Apex Interstellar, followed by the kiosk for Apex Interstellar. tucked into the corner on the back left corner is the Pioneer Supply Store. The back left wall area is taken up by the bar. The back right wall area is taken up by the Inter Astra, your ship dealership. The back right corner is going to be your Vista Genomics. The right side is your Frontline Solutions, and then there's a walkway behind that takes you to elevators that are tied to that Frontline Solutions.
Excellent. Exactly my analysis as well. Yeah, brilliant. So, and that'll be a fixed layout, I imagine.
Yes.
All of them.
No, that is the fixed layout for all the for all of the spaceports. They said that the spaceports will have one layout. All of the spaceports will have the same layout. All of the planet ports will have the same layout. All of the outposts will have the same layout. That's just the layout for the spaceport.
Yeah, but they also said that they wanted to make it easier for people to find their way around, so that stuff is kind of gonna be the same way, but not totally the same way. So I see that as the shops are in the same locations, but the stairs might be going up different ways here and there, or something like that.
Something none of us have mentioned yet is the other space game where you can walk around and be on a spaceship.
Oh, No Man's Sky.
No, the other space game that you can do that. And no, the other space game that you can do that. Dual Universe. No, so Star Citizen. Now,
whatever.
If you've played Star Citizen, the chances are you've also got lost in Star Citizen in a station, and you're like, oh, what am I supposed to do? And I'm really glad to hear that the Elite developers have put it in mind that this won't happen, because the places you can walk around in Star Citizen are not as large as a Coriolis, not as large as an Orbis. So I think that's positive.
In the game.
I think this is one of those situations where there is a happy confluence of A, this is way easier for us to pull off, and B, it's more efficient for our players.
I mean, I'm way more into the game being fun versus being super realistic. Otherwise, I might as well go and try and design a spacecraft myself if I wanted to be super realistic.
You don't want to do a daily commute?
No.
Yeah. Keep in mind,
don't do that in real life.
Keep in mind, Witherspoon, when you say, oh, I kind of would like to go to that, outer ring or whatever, or somebody it was that was saying that. I think that might have been Super.
Yeah, that was me.
Okay, I kind of want to go to that outer ring. That would involve a tram ride and maybe then an elevator and then another tram to get to this section. That would involve a lot more gubbins in there.
It would be a 2-kilometer elevator ride, yes. Absolutely.
And I think what Frontier's already shown is they're not going to just design areas because they look pretty. Don't get me wrong, I've been having a ton of fun going and exploring the stations in Star Citizen, and they look gorgeous, and they're very well done, but there's not a lot to do.
So,
and I feel like Frontier's gone away where they said, we're not going to design areas if there's no reason for you to go there, other than it's pretty. So that again, if you want to have those habitation rings, there's got to be something to do there. And I assume a habitation ring, you're not going to be allowed to just take out your automatic rifle and just begin going ham and shooting everybody. I assume that at least a minimum level of security in that.
Well, I think lore-wise, the outer rings, the large habitation rings of the Orbis are for very wealthy people who can afford, kind of to get the full 1G and sort of have landscaped gardens and so on. So there may be a point in the future where you do assassination missions for that sort of target. But yes, you're right. There's absolutely no point. I mean, it's lovely to go out and see it and see the stars wheeling above you. But, it's a game fundamentally. And if there's no reason for going there, nobody's going to go there. And it's a wasted resource.
Everybody's going to see it.
I think what Frontier is doing with this entire project, with the Odyssey expansion of the game, paid expansion, is very, very ambitious. They're adding a lot of stuff. And as a result of which, I think they looked at many things. For example, we could go with, bespoke or custom or proc gen of different layouts for different places. We could do this, we could do that. But I think what they said is, this is one aspect of many, many aspects with regard to the loops of this game. we're going to get our most bang for our buck. Let's design it efficiently, and I think that that's the right way to go.
Yes.
I just want to quickly touch upon, now we can kind of jump a little bit around the order, but frontline solutions. We haven't talked much about that. So mercenary contracts, basically.
Yes.
So in your mind, it's just a mission board, or is there more to it?
No. So in Polygon, they said specifically, it's a mercenary outfit that will allow players to explore combat scenarios without necessarily aligning to any given faction in the game world. This was confirmed directly by Frontier when we got a hold of them and asked them. They gave the exact same wording. And if you notice in the picture of the video, the dev diary, when they got to that part, there's a desk, there's a lady behind the counter, there's a big sign in the back that says, "Join the fight, Frontline Solutions." And then there is a customer-facing screen, and that screen showed a system map.
Yeah, so you're going to be in system. That's what you're thinking. The current system you're in.
Either that, or maybe you'll sign up to fight for a fight that's going on in a different system, because they show that there's a walkway behind Frontline Solutions with elevators. Maybe those elevators take you. You sign your contract saying, "I'm going to join this fight." There's nothing to say that they couldn't be taking you one planet over or 3 systems in one planet over to get to the fight that you signed up to fight.
Luke Bitterton did say that most of the missions will be pretty local compared with what we have at the moment. So it could just be a couple of 100 kilometers away from your current location.
Could be.
Yeah, at the moment they're all one
Maybe.
system.
Maybe.
I had a thought that with it could be like the on-foot version of CQC almost.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's the place where you get to go and take part in that. And I say the equivalent of not identical. I'm not thinking it'd be something like Star Marine from Star System, where it's just that. I think there would be some kind of repercussions for it. But if it's saying it's not for any faction, that means it's not BGS aligned, which means it can't be given by your traditional mission givers that you have now, because they're all BGS based. So it's kind of okay, well, who's giving us these missions and what purpose for? And every NPC in this game is assigned to a faction. So unless we're going to be finally having completely free agents, NPC-wise, to deal with, I don't know.
We're 100% are. That's what they said in the thing. I think you're exactly right, Plater. I think that this Frontline Solutions, that is an NPC that's not aligned to any faction. They don't give a damn. They're merc services, and I think that that's the perfect lore explanation or excuse for how you sort of do CQC mechanics, where it's like, hey, this is a fight, a bunch of people go kill people. Don't worry about BGS. This isn't tied to that. Don't worry about that. That's not a problem. I think you're absolutely right.
Yeah. There was a question in Twitch chat regarding the whole peer-to-peer networking and whether we're going to see any change in that for multiplayer. Because fair enough, we can reliably be 4 ships-ish together. If you begin to push up towards 8 to 10, you begin to see interesting issues. If you push beyond 10 towards 15, well, gonna have an interesting time. What do you think? Do you think we're gonna see any changes to that with Odyssey regarding having more players in the same area at the same time, or is it gonna be the same?
I think
we're
so.
restricted by the reality of the internet.
Well,
people are on very slow connections.
We're restricted by the reality of how Frontier currently use the internet.
The peer-to-peer networking.
Yeah, with the peer-to-peer networking. I think there could be some changes to the way it works coming forward. There's been some talk about it for quite a while that the big update that Frontier have been working on will have that. But as for what that looks like,
the rumor mill that kind of says there's going to be something, but I haven't seen anything conclusive.
I strongly believe that there will be updates and upgrades to this. I think that this was first, the quote-unquote rumor mill, as you referred to it, was first started with over a year ago, the investment meeting where they got together and David Braben said that Odyssey will include a significant code refresh to the underlying code base. I think you're going to see some differences in how they utilize the AWS, the Amazon Web Servers. I think you're going to see if they planned as they say with Odyssey, all of this that they kept referring to in the initial forum post that accompanied the first sneak peek that was also dropped early, that half of all of the things that were in there were pointing to increased player with player, increased group activities, increased there. If you design all of that and you don't increase the way that we're able to interconnect and what have you, that to me seems supremely stupid, and I don't think that they would do that. I think we're going to get a whole dev diary at some point on game mechanics, and that dev diary is going to highlight the aspects of a new, more robust system for handling players doing things together.
It would be lovely to think so, but that's quite a big shift for Frontier. One of the things they said very early on they didn't want to do is to have lots of servers like in fact Star Citizen, where they're paying sort of thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars to just keep sort of keep players communicating with each other. They might do it, and if they do, it'll be a very big shift, and they'll need to make sure they have the income to match the cost.
In response to your statement, though, Wotherspoon, that would be a very big shift, I think look at Dev Diary 2. You basically, that whole thing screams very big shift. But yeah, I mean, you're right.
Yes,
it's not proven yet. You're not proven yet, but I it's not proven yet, but I believe that it's coming.
Cool.
Okay.
Look forward to it.
Oh, we did sort of neglect to mention one when we're talking about locations, right? There was a location shown in Dev Diary 2 that has not been mentioned anywhere by anybody. Now, granted, this was just in the concept art. There was one concept art of a hallway, and it showed a different sign, and in that it showed, like, I think it showed Apex, Interstellar, and Inter Astra, and Frontline, and then it had a fourth location, and that location was Dropbox. That I have not seen anybody mention. I strongly believe that will be the location that you go to turn in all of your gubbins from when you come back from a scavenger mission. And you say, like,
first storage.
Well, so it could be that too. But so here's what I'm thinking. You go and do a scavenger mission and you pick up, 8 of these and 12 of these and 14 of these and 1 of those, and you have this big barrel full of shit. I think you go to Dropbox and you can choose to say, well, this and this and this I need for a suit upgrade coming up, so I'm going to put those over here in my personal locker. These other things I don't need. I'm going to sell those or trade those for other bits, which I can then put in my locker.
That concept art didn't have Vista Genomics, and it didn't have the pilot's bar on it, did it? So it
Correct.
Might have been earlier, or it might just be some variant.
I agree with you 100% that it, and that's why I pointed it out. It is concept art, and so it might not be whatever, but it does track exactly with what Luke Betterton said when he was talking about how the missions work with Steven on this live stream on Thursday, and he said when you're done with the mission, the mission giver only wants the one thing that they sent you to. So let's say the mission giver says, we need the data core from that ship because it's got secret recon. You bring that data core back to the mission giver and collect your money and your stuffs.
But there was
He said all of the rest. Yeah, he said all of the rest of your stuff you will drop off somewhere. And that when he said the words drop off, I was like, Dropbox. Okay, I think that's that.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, I don't know. I mean, I think I'm leaning a little bit toward what Roderspoon is saying, that it was something earlier. They might have changed it. Maybe it's not its own place. Maybe it's just a thing you can now access from somewhere. I don't know. The bar. Maybe there's a. Yes, I'm your personal storage guy. I keep track of all your things. I don't know.
Oh,
okay.
You know what? In the concourse on the first level, on the left and right side of the walls, there are those things that look like trash chutes or whatever. Maybe that's a, locker. You open up and drop your stuff.
Put it in the trash chute and somebody will take care of it.
Can I also say there's another scene that was round about the middle of Dev Diary 2, which was quite peculiar, and it seemed quite out of context from anything else. It was what looked like a kind of young guy in blue and tan clothing, and he was standing just behind this sort of holographic blue orb with 3 smaller red orbs inside it.
That was from the that was from the Astor's Hope part of it, and I believe what you're seeing there is sort of I could be wrong, but I think that wasn't a guy. It was actually a woman.
Oh, was it? My apologies.
Short hair. And oddly enough, she's a creepy looking She's a creepy looking woman.
This is not suitable for extreme, isn't it?
No.
Preferably it would be.
Sorry. So she's a creepy looking, weird doll face type person who's standing there by that board. And the way that you know that it's Astor Hope is because on the far wall behind her, up at the top, there's readouts that say Astor's Hope and has topographical information about the planet and whatnot. And yes, it looks like a hollow table with a 3D display of the system. Now, this is just a hunch, but I could see you go to her and she gives you the mission to go scavenge wreck at this location or whatever, and she's going to sort of highlight it's here. And then I think you get to the general area, and this is based off of what Luke Betterton said in the stream on Thursday. You get to the area that you're going to search for it in. So just like now you have those planetary scan missions where you go and there's a search zone and there's a mechanic of you look and find it. I don't think you're going to get the coordinates that drop you off exactly at the ship. I think you're going to get a search grid, and then from there there's a mechanism or a mini game. You do that, and then that takes you to where the ship is.
Yeah, so you need to use some sort of scanner to find it.
Yeah.
Oddly enough, yes. Oddly enough, that same creepy-looking woman is in the shot in Freehold, in the background where you see the Inter Astra, where you can take the shuttle bus, and then just around the corner is the Pioneer Supplies. She is standing in the far background, right in front of the windows that show outward to the central docking area of the asteroid base.
She's a private investigator. She's following you around.
Exact same woman. I'm saying same body type, same features, same coloring, exact same clothes with the gray leathers, the like tan hand things and the tan boots and the same sidearm, same belt, same everything.
I would imagine that that's because they're still at a fairly early stage and they haven't got around to kind of building the customization.
Yeah. Why render loads of different ones if you can just plop the same ones in to start off with?
Hello there.
That only
makes
one
sense.
weirdo will actually notice the same person. Yeah, makes sense.
It actually probably would be good to just quickly talk about the difference between social hubs and settlements, because I'm not sure if everybody is completely 100% on top of what the difference is. Like, social hubs is pretty much all the things we've been talking about so far. Stations, interiors, that kind of stuff. Settlements is places where you're not necessarily going to be able to dock, but it's going to be places you can probably land next to, and they're going to be planet side. And I see them, and this is my guess, they're mainly going to be mission locations or places you could go and maybe pick up missions, or maybe you could complete missions, go and explore things, find things, steal things. We know from the dev diary that you, I think it was in the dev diary, that you could just basically walk in there, either sneak in to kill a target or go in on both guns blazing and steal everything that's not bolted down.
I agree with you.
I think the Polygon article gives a lot of detail about this, actually.
It does.
It talks about the types of buildings, that there's going to be themed factories for a settlement type with extraction, which I think means mining, agricultural, industrial, whatever. There's going to be power buildings, there's going to be habitation buildings, that's fine, if the workers live on the site. You've got airlocks to get in and out, and the activities you can do at the settlement, you can either complete missions, so you can visit location, collect an item, kill an NPC, do that sort of thing, or you can steal things. So if you haven't got a mission, you come to a settlement, you can kind of wander in, and you can either sort of go around stealthily looking for fire extinguishers to steal, or you can just sort of kill everybody and ransack the place and take everything, get it all out to your SRV or into your ship, take it off to the nearest social hub and sell it on the black market. So So there are at least two different things you can do. It's one of the two location types that you can do missions. There's the settlements, and of course there's the wrecks as well.
So on the live stream yesterday at 1 minute or 1 hour 24 minutes and 17 seconds, Art said settlements are the newest, largest, and most dynamic new planetary locations. So these are larger than planet ports.
Yes, that seems to be the case.
And with regard to, as Watherspoon said, there are different. So they're the HAB buildings, the buildings that are marked with HAB on the top. Say, because like in the one that they showed was Cormac Enterprises at Astor's Hope 2. They had HAB buildings. Those are habitation buildings where people are inside of, etc. There's prod buildings, which are the production buildings. There's comm buildings, or communications buildings. And they said that even some of, in the Polygon article, they said that some of those buildings, some of those settlements will sort of be smaller, and they won't have HAB buildings. There will be no people in them. The idea is that people fly in, do some work, but that the places are mostly automated. As Watherspoon said, yes, they're going to be agricultural type, which are, getting food, corn and whatnot. There's going to be the ore refinery ones. There's going to be production ones where they're taking refined ore and components or whatever, and they're making ships or SRVs or stuff, and they're putting them on assembly lines out. And yes, Art said specifically, you can go there for the purpose of getting a mission or whatever, or with a mission to do a thing, or you can go there without a mission, and you can just, they said there's going to be an area of stealth play around that. So it could be, sneak in and steal a thing. It could be sneak in and kill a guy. It could be assault and force. And they said that with those, you can do combined ops. So it could be some people on foot with some people in SRVs with a guy in a ship, all working together.
Bomb it with mines.
Yep, carpet bombing. I want to see it done. It has to happen.
Wow, Floyd.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't worry about ground combat if everyone's already dead on the ground.
Hello there.
Nuke it for Morgan is the only way to be sure. Yeah.
But how on earth are you going to balance that? Because I'm running around on the ground, and then somebody flies up in his Corvette, fully fitted with the dumbfire missile, just begins to carpet bomb the place. And like, okay, I guess I die.
Well, I'm going to assume there has to be a weapon in game that you can shoulder that is going to damage or at least cause enough worry for people in ships that they don't want to do that. Because that's the only way you can kind of maintain that level of balance.
I think what we're going to see is that these places, these locations, are going to have far beefier weapons that can eat through a Corvette like it's nothing. And that's the whole point, is that you need your SRVs to assault the outer area at first. And then you need one guy to hop out of an SRV and sneak over to some comms panel somewhere or the power grid and flip the switch to turn off the power to those crazy guns, so that your SRV or so that your ship can come in and start jacking shit up. But so the guy on foot is going to be valuable to because otherwise, as you said, there's no the Corvette is way more powerful than the guy, but the guy can be more powerful than the Corvette if the guy is the one who flips the switch to turn off the grid to the guns that allow 8 Corvettes to come in and do their shit stuff.
Yeah, I mean, if you've got a mission target on the ground and the Corvette just leaves a massive crater where the mission target was, perhaps you can't get the thing that you're looking for anymore.
Absolutely.
Hostage situation. It probably wouldn't be a good idea to counter the Corvette with dumbfire missiles. Unless you're Ployed. But
hey. If the hostage is dead, there's no hostage anymore.
That's true. The hostage
I'm just saying, that's how it works. I don't negotiate with terrorists or hostage takers, and the best way is, shoot the hostage.
You always negotiate with terrorists or hostage takers just so you can get them close to the window for a clean headshot.
Headshots? No. Turn them into a fine red mist, a paste even. But I think something to think about, talking about these settlements and what gameplay is going to be around them and what to think of them as. There's a lot of stuff in Elite where you can look at the different levels of combat, And we've seen so far that there are going to be missions for foot. There's going to be missions in space. We're going to have combat on foot. We're going to have combat in space. So there's no reason why we wouldn't consider these settlements to be maybe similar to the megaship encounters that we have now. We could have that kind of thing even. There's the same level of... Everything's in levels, and they've said they have trying to draw parallels between... or scaling everything down for the on-foot experience. I think is what they've said, something similar to that. And
Yep.
I'm thinking that that's what we're going to be seeing. This is going to be a scaled down kind of thing. And then, yeah, you can just turn up one and be like, turn up at like a megaship and be like, yo, what are we doing here? It's just a thing that you turn up and you do, and maybe there's stuff to collect. You can join in, you take part in one of those scenarios. You're like, oh, cool, we're going to start blowing it up, or you think I'm going to start helping out on it. And we're going to have very similar stuff to that, I would hope. Speculation. But I would hope that you'd have that, and it seems logical that Frontier would continue this parallel nature that they're going through, as well as the new stuff.
It makes sense, yeah. How do you... I'm wondering, the BTS implementation seems pretty straightforward to me, that just as we can today, if you go in and you begin to murder people, then you're going to be pushing the system in the direction of civil unrest or something like that. I don't know, Plato, you've done any thoughts on that?
I would hope that what you'd get is you'd get things like you go to your mission terminal for your faction, you would pick up a mission, and like, if it's combat, then you'd have a, hey, go do this. People are fighting there, and you turn up and you just start fighting. Whether you defend the settlement or you attack it, I would assume something like that around war. As for other stuff, civil unrest causes very little change in your actual gameplay experience. But things like pirate attack might. Plus, you're going to get a change of missions available around those settlements. So I'm going to assume that you won't also get ones where you have to go and attack a settlement, scan this, do that. But you'll have that additional level, like Black Ops data retrieval, for example, which would help support a war effort, or take down a power supply, except you go and you run in and you do it on foot, or you do something similar. So I'm hoping, a lot of hope here. I'm really hoping that the missions will scale in that way. So you get lots of similar stuff.
Talking about scaling missions, I really would love the idea. First off, absolutely, I second what you say. Secondly, I would very much like the opportunity for asymmetrical scaling, sort of reverse scaling. Let me give you an example. I say, Plater, I need you to sneak into Asher's Hope and steal a blueprint to something, a thing that they have on their whatever. If you assault the base in force, kill everybody, and take the thing, you get reward 1. If you are able to stealthily sneak in without anybody noticing, just take a picture of just put in a little flash drive and download the data and get the hell out without anybody even knowing you were there, you get triple the reward, because, not just necessarily making it that you get paid more.
In a different direction. Let's say, yeah, you go in, get this piece of information, you go in all guns blazing. Hey, you now get a new pieces that maybe help you towards getting a more a stronger armor or better heavy weapons or whatever. And if you go and say, hey, I want to go and do the sneaky route, then you get equipment, or you get rewards that are maybe more tailored towards those type of equipment, so that your reward is kind of tailored to the gameplay type you like.
So you could end up with,
and I thought that would actually be pretty cool.
You could end up with a ninja suit, which is your straight up sneaky full stealth suit, a recon suit, which is like a kind of hybrid, but it's 80% sneaky and 20% combat effective, a force recon suit, which is 50-50 sneaky combat, and then a combat assault suit, which is not sneaky at all, but super heavy combat ability.
And they did say you might want to, most people, I think it says that most people might want to have multiple suits.
Yes.
Some maybe tailored for close range or long range, I think was the example they used, but it might as well be all guns blazing or sneaky, right? Have combat suits for that.
Well, they did say, so Art said specifically that with regard to the suits, there's going to be modules. And so look at it this way. And they said specifically, they said it in the stream, and Frontier confirmed it with us privately that, they're getting back to our question, that there are going to be sort of modules for different things with the suit. So let me give you an example. A combat suit, maybe you choose the beefiest shield module, right? But shields, you do that knowing that it has more drain on your power supply, which means that let's say if you're in a more of an exploration footing suit, that one could maybe be out for 3 or 4 hours without any problems on its power supply because it's engineered to be super efficient for that. Whereas if you get the super beefy shield and jetpack, also jetpack module, this jetpack can fly farther faster, but it takes up more energy. This is a more efficiently sort of centered jetpack. All of these things are going to be just like with your ship. It's going to be a wide variety of, these are all the things I have to take into account to sort of tailor make what's best for me. And yes, you can have, there's going to be 3 types of suits. You can have maybe 5 of one type of suit that are all engineered in different ways, and then you swap out modules for to tailor them to the task at hand.
Yeah, that would make sense. Yeah, because I think we actually segued quite nicely into the suits. The fact that there's going to be, for what we know of right now, there's going to be 3 base type suits, where there's going to be a combat suit, a scavenger suit, and an exploration suit. And from there on, you can then add modules and engineer them a lot like ships. But one thing I found interesting was, it seems also that when you're then out with your suit, you still have some micromanagement to do in terms of not only the power output, but also the batteries in the suit. So you might not want to have your shields on at all times, because then you're going to drain your batteries in no time.
Yeah, I heard that as well, that sort of you turn your shields off when you're not using them, because the batteries in a suit are much smaller than the batteries you have in an SRV, for example. So you need to actively be power managing all the time, or else you might run out of life support.
Depends on what level.
With hilarious consequences.
So it depends on what level that management's going to be, because if you think about, is it going to be at the same level we have ships where you only turn your shields off if you're running on fumes? Or, you only start turning stuff off at that point where you're like, oh, I think I've made a big mistake here. You're in trouble. Are you going to do it then, or is it going to be all the time? You're like, how actively are you going to need to manage it? Because there's a lot of times where you run out of stuff and you're like, oh well, I'll just pop back or hit a star and fuel scoop. There's a lot to think about that.
I think that this turning stuff on and off on your suit is going to be much more akin to what we now kind of look at as pip management with regard to your ship. Whereas you don't turn your shields off very often at all in your ship, I think you're going to turn your shields on and off much more often, much more frequently, and with less of a sort of a hassle than your ship shields. I don't think turning on your ship shields, you have to sit there and wait while the damn thing builds up, and then now it's on. I think this is going to be more sort of the equivalent of how you look at pip management, where it's a thing you do on the fly, off and on, here and there and stuff.
Yeah. Because that was the feeling I got as well, that you're not going to have like a recharge time in the shield. You just go pips to shield, and now your shield is on. And then they drain battery as soon as they're on. And if you decide to say, hey, I'm going to use my jetpack to like jump on the roof of this building for some cover or whatever,
Pip's tangent.
Then you're gonna use some jetpack fuel, or maybe also drain your batteries a little bit for controlling the whatever stabilization thrusters or whatever they have, stuff like that. And on top of that, it also seems you're gonna be having to manage your oxygen, and hopefully they will also. I don't know if I have mixed feelings about it. If I run, do I then consume more oxygen than if I'm standing still? Because
will you have a little heart rate monitor?
Yeah, like, oh, so okay, I don't want to run over to my ship because I'm running low on oxygen, so I have to walk really slowly, and it's gonna be a little tedious. So I can see the cool side of it, like in the management side of it. If you're attacking a base, you need to also like don't just run straight in because you might run out of oxygen unless you're planning on actually getting access to its oxygen source in there real quick. But on the other hand, I can also see this becoming very tedious if it's not done right.
Yeah.
I 100% agree. You want some survival mechanics from on the fairest sense so that it has weight. Again, it's the same concept as the instant travel on Inter-Astra. You don't want, or Astra, whatever. You don't want it to be nothing, no survival mechanics, because that makes it feel cheap. But you don't want it, for sure, don't want it to be too much because that makes it unfun. You have to find the sweet spot.
But I think they've done it in Star Citizen. I think they've done it a little bit there, where you have to remember to go and eat and drink, and if you don't, your vision gets blurry and you can't walk straight at the end, stuff like that. And the timers between you have to do it is long enough that it's not really something you worry about when you're out on a mission. It's just something that you always forget when you're back at the station, like, oh, I forgot to buy an energy bar and a bottle of water, so now I have to get, like, it's like forgetting your limpets, basically. And it's just annoying.
Just remember, Astro, if you need an energy bar and a bottle of water, go to the bookstore like a civilized human being and get it, because that's what you do.
So that, I think the survival mechanics, they've overdone it a little bit in Star Citizen. I don't hope Frontier's going to go as far. I don't think they're going to go as far as they've done in Star Citizen. But as you say, there should be some. You should not be able to just say, hey, I'm just going to leave my character standing here and then go AFK for 3 hours and come back and your character's fine.
It should.
He should run out of alcohol.
It should be noted that with the description of Frontier Supply Store, it said that is the location where you buy weapons, suit upgrades, and related consumables. I absolutely hope with all of my heart when they say consumables, they're talking about grenades and ammo and not bottles of water. You don't need that. Let's not do that.
Oxygen tanks.
Let's skip it.
And we don't need toilets. Thank you.
Now go on.
You go,
I mean, if you looked at what they had on the shelves in the store and the pictures and the video clips, it definitely looks like a lot more like grenades and landmines and those kind of things.
It does. It has exclamation marks on the boxes to show they're dangerous.
Exactly.
So, the one thing I noticed about the suits, I think they said there were only going to be 3 sorts of suits, plus of course the flight suits we have at the moment, and that's the exploration suit, the combat suit, and the scavenger suit. Yes. And I can't remember it was in the Polygon article. It said that there would be statistical bonuses for the 3 different types of gameplay. So you can do all 3 sorts of gameplay using any of the suits, but there's going to be a suit that's best for the sort of gameplay that you want to do. And you collect new items and resources to upgrade the suits. You use high-level upgrades, which it does specifically say requires engineering. And so yeah, go on.
So you want to look at it exactly like a ship, where you say, okay, I've got 3 hulls. I've got a vet, which is way more good at combat. I've got a cutter, which is way more good at trade stuff. And I've got a Conda, which is way more good at exploration, more good at like range or whatever.
I want to go exploring in my Further Lance, and nobody's going to stop me.
All right. So, wait. Let me finish the thought here. If you take those 3 bases, that's like your 3 suit types. But there's nothing stopping you through the modules you place and the engineering that you use to it from making a combat/trade vet or a exploration/combat cutter. Like, if you want to go that way with it, there's 3 base types, and they each have a statistical advantage that skews towards one of the 3 gameplay loop types. But there is a unlimited amount of modularity between the modules and the upgrades that you engineer or whatever into it that can take it to thousands of various permutations.
Absolutely, and I noticed in some of the concept art and in some of the animated models, there are 2 leg holsters, which seem to be mainly for weapons, and then there's up to 6 things you can have on your utility belt. So So there's a lot of scope for having stuff.
Gonna get our own little Batman belt.
Yeah.
Something about suits as well, because someone mentioned in my chat here, is that you are not bound to one type of suit.
No.
You can switch whenever you like, and you will be able to switch suits within your SRV, ship, or social hubs. You'll be able to change in all of those locations. So that's important. And to be honest, we know that when it comes to the seats, they're going to be a bit like ships. They're going to be the ship whilst you're on foot. If we're drawing comparisons between space and ground, you can, like Kai was saying, you could have a Type 9 engineered for combat. It might not do it very well. The same way you might have your exploration suit engineered for combat. It might not do it very well. But hey, you can give it a go if you want. I'm looking to see how much customization we get, though. That would be interesting. What level?
I think it's going to be a massive amount. As I said, between the different modules that you can place on. So let's say you just this is just a thought experiment. Let's say you have 3 base suits, and each base suit has, let's say, 12 slots total. So that's 3 times 12. That's 36. But if you look at the fact that you can have, of those slots, you could have, like, let's say, just the same way as with your cargo cutter, or your mining cutter, you use the top 2 things as cargo things. So you could have multiples of, it's not just 36 variations, you're already into the thousands of variations just off of that. Then you look at doing engineer upgrades or whatever upgrades, and that takes it yet further. It's just going to be massive amounts of possibilities.
Yeah. Good.
Okay, let me just quickly get. Are there any other thing? Oh, right, yes. So one of the more common comments I saw regarding the suits and the new materials we have to get is, oh great, here comes another grind.
Yeah, that's what MMOs are. Welcome to MMOs.
Gameplay loop. We don't say grind, we say gameplay loop.
Are you enjoying doing it? If you're enjoying doing it, it's not a grind.
Exactly.
Correct. I think that this is the way MMOs work. They give you it's a grind if you're miserable. If you're happy playing the game, it's what you call content. It's things to do with your time. And yeah, I'm down for it.
That's one important thing here, and that is, it seems from what we hear about the missions, the on-foot missions, that they're going to be they were going to be longer, I think, than the missions we have today. Most missions in Elite can be completed within 5 to 10 minutes. And it seems like these are going to be longer missions. I think they said they were going to be more, I can't remember the exact word, complex. I at least got the gist that they were going to be longer, and that means longer gameplay loops. And I think what make a game feel grindy for a lot of people are short gameplay loops. If your gameplay loop is 10 minutes, then you're going to feel like, okay, now I have to start over and do the whole thing again every 10 minutes. But if your gameplay loop is, let's say, an hour, it's probably a little bit long. But let's say 20 minutes for to complete a mission, where you're going to do different things in those 20 minutes. I think it's going to feel less grindy than it otherwise would if it was a short gameplay. But
you're absolutely right that's what makes people feel grind. That's one aspect of it. The other aspect of it that makes people feel grind is when they can't get what they want. So I need pharmaceutical isolators. I can't find them anywhere, so I have to keep doing other missions to get stuff so I can go to the material trader so I can trade them for the isolators. If you take the fact that, as you say, it seems like they're going to be more in-depth, dynamic, and sort of longer sort of missions, that sort of handles one aspect of the feeling like a grind. And potentially, we don't know yet, but potentially the other aspect of feeling like a grind could be resolved through this whole negotiating bartering system. What if you're in a situation where they say, okay, if you do this mission, I'll offer you this, or this, and then it says, you can get paid in pharmaceutical isolators or composites or, imperial shielding. And to be clear, I'm just saying these 3 things as spaceholder names. I'm not saying that I don't think they'll pay you in those materials. I think they will pay you in the new gubbins, but I'm just throwing those out as placeholders. And you say, well, I don't need Imperial shieldings, but I really need those pharmaceutical isolators. I will negotiate for that. I think that between those 2 things together, you're right. It could make it feel much, much less grindy as a whole.
Yeah. But again, that also, if you have the option to do it, then what people are going to do is going to say, hey, what is the most effective way to get any materials, and then just go and do that, and then constantly pick the option that you need. And so you will. I think it depends on the way how diverse the missions are. If you can, just from reading the title of the mission, you can tell exactly what's going to go on through the whole mission, exactly where the NPCs are going to be, who's going to be shooting at you, when and from where, then I think that will also add to a more grindy feel, rather than if you're like, okay, I'm going to attack a base, I don't know the layout of the base, I don't know where the NPCs are going to be, then it's going to add some more diversity to the missions. But again, I don't mind a grindy game. I mean, I've been playing Elite Dangerous for I don't know how long now. And I'm still enjoying it. I enjoy playing action RPG, top-down hack and slash, and they are the definition of grind. So I don't mind grinding games, but I can see where people are coming from. And I hope that we're gonna get some longer gameplay loops with the on-foot missions, so that for the people who are susceptible to the grindy feel, it's not gonna feel it that much.
I think an important thing to add as a thought when we're talking about the ideas of these NPC mission givers or whatever, in the live stream when Luke Betterton was talking at the 46-minute 50-second mark, he said he was asked about, will the NPCs be voice acted, and he said yes, they will. And when we asked Frontier directly, they responded with yes, there will be voice acting and there will be text. It'll be a combination of the 2. But I think that's a cool dynamic thing when you add to the idea of all of these things, that there's going to be voice acted stuff. I dig that.
It'll create a better sense of investment and a better sense of immersion, a sense that you're actually there, you're talking to a real person, and you're going to affect their life for better or for worse during this mission.
I think everyone's always going to say grind at some point if they don't. I mean, sort of really, if you enjoy something, it's not grind. But for me, for example, I like something that is rewarding at the end of it. Like you feel like you have achieved something, you've earned your correct reward. So it is very much like you're either reward focused or activity focused, and people are typically split into those 2 groups. And this is psychologically speaking; it's not something I'm making up. Are you reward focused or activity focused? And I think some people who are reward focused may not consider something a grind. They wouldn't necessarily consider farming pharmaceutical isolators a grind, but then there are people who are activity focused who then would. And they're kind of, it's either you go and you do your high grade missions just to find stuff, or you go and do your missions to get the rewards from it. It's that kind of split. I think Frontier are learning that there needs to be a balance, and as missions get introduced, there's a bit more of that, especially when we had now you can choose your rewards in missions, that what you get at the end. And again, I assume we're going to have those same options for picking rewards for the ground-based stuff as well. But yeah, it's people are people, we humans like psychologically rewarding things. That is like one of your here we go, I'm going to go psychological for a minute. Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Your psychological fulfillment and what you enjoy is like your final thing that you need for full self fulfillment is your psychological rewards, and that's very much what computer games are. They're your psychological reward, so you want to enjoy it.
Well
That's
said.
deep, overly deep for computer games. I'm sorry.
I dig it. That's why I love me some Plater.
I think it's important that, at least for me, I think that a good game for me is something where I can set myself a short-term, medium-term, and long-term goal. Where a short-term goal is something I can log in and I can solve in a single play session, right? And a medium-term goal is something I can do within a week or 2 weeks. That's a medium-term goal. Long-term goal is something that will take me months to do. And I think a good game needs to have all 3 of them covered.
Absolutely. So you have your short-term goal. I'm going to get these pharmaceutical isolators today. Your medium-term goal. I'm going to get this engineer maxed out. Your long-term goal. I'm going to get all the engineers pinned. Absolutely.
And I want this ship fully engineered, and I want all this. I want to go and visit whatever. I want to build a ship and go and visit Beagle Point or whatever it is. Whatever it is you set as your own goal. That's the whole point of it. You have to set your own goals. You have to make your own long-term goals and then divide them into subtasks and then solve them one at a time. Otherwise, you're gonna die on the beginning. I think. Yeah.
100%. Can I point out a really weird thing from the dev stream that caught my attention like massively and made me perk up? Stephen Benedetti, when he was talking about they were looking for questions, specifically at the 1 hour, 19 minute, 5 second mark. Stephen, he was reading through it. He chose to answer this one. They were skipping so many questions in the chat. And he read the question, will there be crossplay in Odyssey? Now, Frontier has already stated clearly, we will not have crossplay at launch. We will launch with Odyssey available on the PS4 and the Xbox One or whatever the current generation of those things are. And that, so long as the PS5 and the Xbox, whatever the hell, have back compatibility, then you'll be able to play it or whatever. But in this case, when he was asked, Steven said, we have not discussed anything about cross-platform at the moment. With Odyssey's release, we will update you at that time. Now,
changing their mind.
Let's be fair. This is over an hour into a long stream where they're getting pelted with questions. Yeah. Steven is a human being. That could just be a misspoke situation, and God love him, I would probably make 50 times more mistakes in that much of a long time on there. But if that was not a mistake, and if their previous statements of we have no plans for that at launch are the exact same way as we have no plans for VR at launch, and now what we got a little while ago was the glorious news that 90% of your flying and your driving will be still fully capable at launch with VR. If this indicates a softening of that position, or the fact that there may be something down the line that maybe it's a thing they're thinking of or working on or haven't announced yet or planning on doing 3 months, 6 months after launch, I just want to point out that I think that would be glorious, and I would love to get your guys' opinion on it.
Overthinking it. That's what I think. Because they also answered some questions that were totally daft, like space doggos and stuff like that. So I don't know. You've got to be with the answers, because it could just be crossplay in general. And they always say that we have nothing to discuss about that. That is always the answer, and always has been. Is we've got nothing to announce at the moment, and that's always been the answer on that.
I completely get what you're saying, Plater, but it was the second part that intrigued me the most. Of at the moment, with Odyssey's release, we will update you at that time. That was what perked my ears up.
I've promised that we would be at least knowing to come to a natural conclusion at exactly the 2 hour mark, which is about 10 minutes. And I have written down 4 questions I want to ask you guys here. So we have about a couple of minutes for each if you all need to answer them. So first thing, we can continue afterwards to babble on about other things, but first thing, just one at a time. What is your overall impression of Odyssey right now? You can do it on a scale from 1 to 10 if you want. You can do put some more words on it. That's up to you guys. And let's just start with Plato.
I'm feeling positive. I'm feeling optimistic. I'm also tempering my expectations, which is one of my favourite phrases for everything. I think everything that we've seen so far looks good if it works the way that we hope it will, but it probably won't. So my opinion will likely change on release, but overall, I'm feeling positive.
Waterspoon?
I can see that there isn't the limitless scope of Star Citizen, which I think is their Achilles heel. I can see that Frontier have very specifically gone to a goal that's achievable, of having 3 types of these social hubs, of having a particular sort of place where you go, the settlements. We also didn't discuss wreckage and what gameplay would be there for scavenging, and we also haven't really discussed sort of exobiology. It does sound like exploration's just going to be going and looking at plants. I'm not sure if that's fair. It's something that we'll no doubt sort of find out more about. But it looks like we have something that's going to plug onto the existing elite, which is going to have interesting new gameplay that's going to rejuvenate the game for me, and is going to keep me sort of occupied for another couple of years, perhaps. And that's kind of exactly what I'm looking for. But as I think sort of Plato said, the first 8 weeks is probably going to be chaotic because there'll be loads of bugs, and we'll just need to stumble through that.
Good. Kai?
Copy pasta everything that both of the other 2 guys said. I'm super pumped and excited right now, but I'm trying to, as Plater said, limit my expectations so that my hopes can be high, but my expectations are reasonable, and I'm not going to be sad panda if we don't quite get all of the things that my brain is just kind of playing with.
Yeah, I really like the direction Frontier's going, and what we've seen so far in Dev Diary 1 and 2, I think it's definitely heading in a very, very promising direction. I still have a ton of questions, but what I've seen so far, I really like. And that actually leads me on nicely into my next question, and that is, if you could have the answer for one question, what is the biggest question you want answered regarding to Odyssey right now? And let's go the reverse order. Kai?
Oh shit! One question. Honestly, it would be the crossplay. That would be the thing, because that is, to me, of all of the possibilities, the biggest thing that I if they have that, it's 100% a home run.
Okay. Yeah. Waterspoon?
I suppose it's what I said before. The exploration and the scavenging both sound really interesting to me. I'm not so much of a combat person. We haven't really gone into a lot of detail. Dev Diary 1 sort of kind of spoke about the botany, but there's a massive scope there. There's loads of stuff you can do. One of the things that slightly worries me is that as an explorer, we've been told that we will only have first-person view. There won't be a third-person view. So you get out of your survey, you wander around. When you're at a sort of absolutely spectacular place, I want to be able to take photographs, and I want to do that without having my suit sort of in the way. So I mean, obviously there's going to be a dev diary about this at some point, filling in some of the details about how exploration is going to work, filling in some of the details about how the scavenging mechanics are going to work away from settlements. I can't wait, basically, to find out a bit more about these things.
Yeah. Plato?
I want to see how we transition from gameplay element to gameplay element. That, for me, is the big thing. We've had no hints on that whatsoever. The lift in the Apex was the very kind of first hint of that. But I really want to see, how do we get from ship to foot? What's that going to look like? Are we going to get that first step moment on a planet? The one giant leap moment. Are we going to get that? Or is it going to be fade to black and now you're on the planet's surface? It's that kind of thing that I really want to see, because I think that's important.
I forgot to say something.
Yeah.
What do Thargoids look like?
Oh, well, if we're adding in second things, I got more.
I've got millions of stuff, billions of things. So
You got one question. We can continue afterwards. And Plato, you pretty much stole the same question I have. I agree. The transition effects, I think, is going to be very important for how the game is going to be received. It's going to be so important for how the game's going to feel, and it's because it's going to be pretty much the thing we're going to be spending, and we're going to see so many times during a gameplay session. So how that works, I think, is so important. So we'd really like to get some news on that.
Real quick. Let me add this, because I think it's super important. They have said that every aspect of gameplay is going to be sort of transposed onto on foot. what is the biggest single aspect of gameplay that we've all done over the last year? Everybody in the entire game, pretty much mining, and they have not mentioned mining at all. That is a huge question mark, I think, in everybody's mind.
I think it's going to be a dedicated dev diary just to mining, and that actually is not the next question, which is, what do you think the topic of the next dev diary is going to be, and when? Because that's what everybody want to know right now, I think.
You got to pick a person.
Right. We'll start with Waterspoon this time.
Okay, I think it's likely that they're trying to hit a 1 month sort of schedule for these things. So every month there's going to be something new. Perhaps it'll get a little bit busier as we get towards the beta. It'd be nice to think so. What they're going to cover next, I have no real idea. I would have thought they'd probably either want to show a mission loop or perhaps a little bit of combat, because they're both going to be exciting things that are going to get people interested.
True. Yeah. Plato?
I'm going to go with the 1 month as well, because that's what I think it looks. That's what I think it'll be. I think so far we've seen a very brief introduction of stuff, so we're moving into this more in-depth stuff now, and we've seen what the new assets look like on foot, places you can walk around. I'm hoping we're going to see, I reckon xenobiology will be the next one, and what that looks like, although maybe not, because they probably don't want to give away what all these brand new bits of wildlife look like. But I'm thinking that's what it might be.
Kai?
I 100% agree on the timeline. I think you saw Dev Diary 1 at the last week of August. You saw Dev Diary 2 the last days of September. I think you're going to see Dev Diary 3 around the October 25th to 31st mark. As far as what it's going to be, no clue for sure. The only thing that they've hinted at is that they've put together a lot of stuff and they want to do a big thing on the suits specifically. So I think that just how Odyssey, the ships are the new suits of Odyssey, I think is a very clear theme that they're trying to get across. I think a perfect way to do that would be end of October, a whole dev diary, all on suit bits, and getting into the nitty gritty of the different modules and engineering abilities and whatnot.
Again, I think the 1 month is pretty much everybody agrees on that, so in about a month's time. I think, and I hope mining, not just because I'm biased towards mining, but also because I think Frontier's gonna save the big reveals right up to launch. They want the big announcements there, and I think what people's gonna be, at least also people outside the Elite Dangerous community, is gonna be combat, and that's why I think we're gonna get some of the, what maybe from an outside perspective is a smaller topic first, which is, I would assume, to be mining. That's my guess and hope. Now, the next one has a little bit of background story. I think we have time for it, because when was that played? We live streamed Wednesday?
No, it was Tuesday, wasn't it?
Tuesday. It was Tuesday.
Yeah, Tuesday.
Okay. Me and Plato made a bet. So we were discussing when we think that the first beta for Odyssey is going to launch, and when the launch for the full game is going to come out. And the winner of the bet is going to be allowed to shoot the other person in the face and get the first kill on that person on foot.
Gonna be good.
It's going to be good, yeah. My bet was, I can't remember what I said. Was it November, I think, for the beta? And mid-February for the launch.
Just to clarify, when you guys said the person gets to get a face shot on the other person, you did specify with guns, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I thought that was important, but so I think, according to my little note here, you said that you were to get the beta mid-January and the launch in March.
Yeah, so I said mid-January, launch in March, and you said mid-November for beta launch. For beta, and then mid-February for launch. Yes.
Yeah. What about YouTube? Kai, do you have any guesses?
I think
the line here. So
I missed what you just said. What?
There's no like bullet to the face on the line here. Just you're gonna get a free pass. Yes.
Good. Let's see. I think we're gonna see 2 rounds of betas. I think we're gonna see the first one middle of November, a short one, and I think for launch, I'm holding firm to the week of January 15th. I think we're going to see it between the 15th and the whatever that calendar week as it plays, one of the days of that week.
Okay.
Did I break the game by saying that there's going to be 2 betas?
No.
Okay.
I think there's going to be 3, and Plato, you thought 2 as well last time we talked.
Yeah, at minimum of 2. I think there will be. Betas. I think there will be as many as they need. Is my honest answer on that. I don't really want to give like an exact number. 2 at minimum, as many as needed.
Okay.
It depends, because you got to remember they've made this game to run on loads of different bits of hardware, and we have even more combinations than they could possibly imagine. Plus, we break stuff. So.
Right. Yeah, I think we still need Water Spoon, right?
Yes. So the original plan was to release really at the beginning of December, wasn't it? And then they had to slip that sort of due to COVID and various other things. So at the moment they're saying Q1 2021, 3307 as I think of it. And I think at the moment they're probably still aiming for January if they can manage that. But working backwards, that means that the beta would certainly the first beta would have to start fairly soon. So, possibly even the beginning of November, which is quite scary because that's only 4 weeks away. It'd be nice to think the beta would start that soon, but do they really have that much time? Have they pinned everything down? They're still talking about balancing and still developing some parts of the gameplay. If they're not ready 4 weeks before the beta, perhaps it will push back a bit. I don't know. I'd like to think it'll be November though, and I'd like to think the launch at the moment they're probably aiming realistically towards the end of January.
I'd like to submit an addendum to your bet between Plater and Down to Earth. You should make a tiebreaker question of when do you think pre-orders will go?
Oh.
I have no clue. I couldn't even begin to think that.
Maybe together with the betas, when we begin to get gameplay footage out of it. That's
I don't think you'd get it before. I think you'd have to have pre-launch before the betas, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I think honestly, I think that if you look at the fact that they just changed it to where they're rolling in Horizons into base game on October 27th, I think that was done strategically to sort of clear the decks and allow them to put a pre-order out there and have potential purchasers look and say, what is my investment going to be if I get in on the pre-order? It's going to be base game, which now includes Horizon and Odyssey. So I think that the reason why they put it for October 27th is in the first week of November at the latest. I think in that time you're going to see the pre-orders.
Yeah.
So I don't know if there were any of you guys who needed to leave here at the 2-hour mark, but if you do, then now is the time. I will be continue streaming a bit and chit-chatting about everything and nothing if you guys want to.
Okay. I think I shall leave now. Thank you very much. It was a really fascinating talk. I'm sort of even more excited now for what's going to happen with Odyssey and what's going to happen with the next reveal.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
All right, thank you.
Cheers.
And then there were us.
And then there was
us.
All of the class left the room.
I do actually have a really good question from one of my moderators from my Discord and YouTube channel. And it was to ask you guys how you think the community team is doing on their streams as opposed to a year ago, and kind of how they've changed, and also how they deal with the community and interact with us.
Okay, I think the how they're doing with the streams are, well, obviously they are a lot less polished than they used to be, but to be fair, they don't have access to a professional studio any longer. Now they have whatever equipment that Stephen and Arthur have at home. So that is that. Regarding how they're managing the community, I think they have improved a lot. If you think back a year, Frontier had that rumor back. They never tell the community anything. They just tell people that change is going to happen like less than 24 hours before the change.
Yeah.
I think they've opened up a lot. I think they're really being. I think it feels like, at least to me, that they really want to share a lot. Of course, they have the whole what can we share and when thing, so they always have to go back and check with the back office. But I think they're doing a tremendous job thinking on when you consider the situation that we're in with COVID and everything. Yeah, that's my point of view.
I will give mine, but then I demand to hear Platers because I want to hear your insightful view on it as well. With all due respect to Paige, Will, and Steven in this case, who I love. I think all three of them are excellent human beings. I think that they were constricted at that time by a set of factors that, because of that, not because of them, everything was super, super vague and weird and non-committal and, soon, the same answer for months and months and months. And I think that as opposed to now with Art, Bruce, Steven, and Paul, they are in a different situation. I think they're much more able to interact dynamically and meaningfully, and they are taking advantage of that. Part of that, I think, is due to background situation, and a good chunk of that, I honestly believe, is Art, when he came in, sort of argued vociferously for changing the way that the community team interacted. And I think between them, as well as Al Hibbard, the product manager, and then some other people that I don't want to name in case for their privacy, that are working on different things. I think that there's so much more openness now, so much more. Even if you look at, let's be honest, the first sneak peek of Odyssey dropped a week early. It was supposed to drop a week later with the IGN thing. They were supposed to debut it there and have a big ta-da. When it dropped early, there was a whole, what do we do? It was there, and then it was pulled, and then it was there again, and then they just shortly after posted stuff, and then they came on, and they kind of even just at that point were like, yep, we released it. They didn't sort of say, oops, that was a mistake. They didn't whatever. Even if just from that, back in June to now, when this happened and it got out early, it was the exact same situation. It got out early, it bit them in the ass. They were like, what do we do? They pulled it. Then they were like, screw it, just release it. They came right on that day, did a stream, didn't have much to say other than, yep, guys, sorry, this is a little whatever. We had planned on telling you this tomorrow, because they had already even declared that it was going to be released the following day. Sorry, things happen. We're going to roll with it. That openness and that honesty and that engagement level, I think, is super exciting. I love it. I think it's exactly the right step, and just 100%. Yay! It's good. If you look at stuff like in that live stream yesterday, somebody asked Art literally, "Will we have CQC on foot in Odyssey?" And Art goes, he's like, "Look." And this was, and you could pull it up on the video. It was an hour, 17 minutes, and 32 seconds in. Art goes, "Will there be CQ1C on foot? Look, we're not going to talk about that right now. There's more stuff. It'll come later. But yes." And then move to the next thing. Yeah. And I was like, oh my God, I want to have your babies. I love Art. He is awesome. All right, now your thoughts, Plater.
Right, my thoughts are, so the quality of live stream can't really, and talking production quality, you just can't consider it. You can't consider it. You can't even think about it, because it's they don't have the same opportunity, because at the end of the day, they have to look out for each other, and they have to look out for the people they interact with. So staying socially distanced is correct. I think that's the right thing to do, and so therefore we can't consider how they do things in that way. What we can look at, though, is the quality of what they do actually do. And I think the quality of what they actually do is so varied depending on who you get and who you talk to. And I think that's something that needs to be worked on, is that there's a lot of like you said, Arthur's fantastic. Now, we don't hear enough from Bruce to make for me to be able to make a judgment on how his delivery of content is when it comes to the dev diaries and the deep dives and all that kind of stuff. He says some funny stuff on streams. Definitely give him that. Totally fine. I have nothing negative to say either. But then comes we have Stephen, and Stephen's presentation of the last dev diary. I think he was he really needed some backup on stream and a bit more information. Like this time, not information, prepared answers ahead, because he kind of got stitched up. Almost, it feels like being on his own to handle that bigger deal of a live stream. And I think that really shows no one's ever done a Discovery Scanner or a Dev Diary deep dive on their own. They always have someone with them, and not just in chat. They have someone sat on the sofa with them, multiple people sat on the sofa with them, because it's exciting and everyone's like, "Wait, let's do it." And I think that's something that was missed.
And they would have people behind the camera as well.
Yes, yeah, doing all the doing their video inserts and stuff like that, and their transitions. And there are some things you can do quite easily. A simple transition is one of them, using a Stream Deck. I use one. I imagine Astro, you use one as well.
It's actually not plugged in, but I'll get to that eventually.
But yeah,
it's not
it's something you can do. You press some buttons and it changes scenes for you, and that's quite an easy thing to set up. But I think prep time can come into it. If you only have so much time to do everything on your own in your home, it's just you're on your own. No one else can set up your Stream Deck for you. You have to do it yourself. So I think there's some of that to be considered. We had some of the experts on, which is great. That's good to hear from them. But yeah, Arthur has been quite a fresh of breath air when it comes to delivery of information. Like as soon as he went, we're not going to talk about that. But yes, it's like, knew it. He was going to say it. He was going to say something. He was going to let slip something. Obviously, it was on the list of things that he's allowed to say. But it's the delivery of it, I think, is very, very important. And I've got to say, it's great having Arthur involved. I understand he's a very busy guy, and he is championing this communication for us as well. The delivery of communication, which is great. Really good.
Awesome.
Nice.
Yeah, that was my one question that I had. I didn't have any other questions.
Okay.
That's what I had.
I've got a couple of things to add to the list to talk about with you guys. Did you guys notice in the video on the part where the talking in the background was obviously in Odyssey, the main way that you're going to earn money is through doing missions and completing them successfully and turning them in, but there's other things you could do like stealing stuff, whatever.
Yeah.
At that part of the video, it shows just a guy walking down a hallway. And I was like, why the hell are they showing us just a guy walking down a hallway and you can't see anything at all? It's just a hallway with some pipes, hydraulic type stuff on the walls, and there's a couple of crates or whatever. So I played it like 8 times and I looked and I'm like, what am I not seeing here? Why the hell are they showing this? And then I tripped on the fact that the guy looks like he's got his back to you, so you can't see his face, but what you can see is his whole right side. He's walking, he's wearing a suit, he's got a rifle slung over his shoulder, and on the right side of his head, he has, and I pulled it up, made it as big as possible, and played it back, this like 3-second clip like 10 times and watched it. It looks like, do you remember there was a bad movie with like Jean-Claude Van Damme or whatever, Universal Soldier, where they had, and it looked kind of like, remember Jean-Luc Picard when he was captured by the Borg and he had that weird ocular like visor thing over his right eye? There was, in that clip, you can see it looks like either maybe on the side, it looks like he's not wearing a helmet, but he's got one of those weird there's some kind of apparatus stuck to the right side of his head going around to the front on the right side of his head. And I was like, that's super, super interesting to me. I wonder if this is going to be is this a suit module that you can maybe, throw on there, some kind of weird Locutus of Borg type.
Only thing is that in the previous scene, here you go, where they're standing in front of the window, because I've got the video up on my stream now, the two characters that are standing in front of the window also have them.
And is like nobody is talking about it. It's super. I think it's
Now,
super interesting.
it looks to me like it's attached to the gun. The gun that's on their back. Problem is that we've got, or someone has suggested it's a flashlight, which it could be, because this, what we have been shown, is whenever they mention exploration, because we know that this is probably the exploration suit, because we've seen the combat one, which looks all Darth Vader-y, or they showed that, and we've seen the salvage one, which had all the webbing on it and stuff like that, and the harnesses. But this one,
shoots not appearance based on the modules you put on it.
It could be, yeah. Actually, it could be.
I just think that's. I thought that was interesting, and I was like, nobody's really talking about this.
It's an interesting thought of the what is that?
Yeah.
That's
I'm not saying I know what it is. I'm just saying what it looked like to me, and I was like, I find that super interesting. That, and the other bit that I thought was super interesting is there's a bit kind of very close to that, actually played within a couple seconds of that, where you see the back of what the hell? Hold on, I was just floating in space, and apparently I'm getting interdicted.
Oh.
All right.
Hang on. Sorry. Because we're talking about that bit. Literally just after, you see a section of what looks like the pilot's lounge, and you see someone walking towards you with their gun on their back, and they've got that black thing, and it looks like it's attached to the gun.
Interesting.
So,
but could it be, because I know in the 4K universe, you have these. Basically, it's a scope that you put on your rifle or your weapon, but instead of it being like an optical scope where you have to put your head down, it goes up to like a thing you have in your head. And in that case, the thing is an implant you put into your head, so you can see through the scope basically. It could be something. How that's going to work in games is going to be very confusing, but I could see the benefit of basically just put out your hands around the corner with your gun, and then you can look out through the scope.
How interesting would that be?
Well, they have that in the Cyberpunk universe. They have the same thing.
Dumbledore asked in chat regarding first person versus third person. I think that they've already stated pretty clearly it's going to be first person.
Yep, yeah, they've said that specifically.
Hopefully, we're going to get a camera suite for on foot. I would assume so. Would surprise if we didn't, but it was also come up in the Twitch chat earlier today. But it has not been 100% confirmed that we're going to get that. But
yeah. If I had to guess, I would guess that you're gonna still get a camera suite, but it may be a thing where they say, like, because it's hard to sort of control it or whatever, when you're in the camera suite, it's because your character is sort of stationary, and at that point, whatever. And that would be fine. That would allow Wotherspoon to still get his great snapshot on the, on a Vista or whatever, but without...
Exactly, as do on ships, that you can fly around in the camera in free camera mode, or you can then attach the camera either to the physical surroundings or to your character, so it has a follow cam. You're not going to have any UI, so you're not going to be able to aim at anything. So you're not going to be able to use it for actual gameplay, but you can do the cinematic shots if you want to. Yeah, that's what I'm assuming. So basically exactly the same as we had for ships, but just on.
So the other thing that I thought that was interesting at around that point, so it was just a few seconds after the guy walking down the hallway with whatever the hell that was, maybe on the side of his helmet or head or whatever, maybe on the rifle, we'll see. But the other thing was interesting is a few seconds after that, two characters at Astor's Hope with their back to you, they're looking out a window. And the window that they're looking at shows sort of that archway that says Astor Hope 2 from within a few seconds to the beginning. And as the camera scrolls, what you see to the right side up the hill, maybe 1,000 yards up the hill, there's a whole other series of buildings and whatever. And that, to me, now I know now we have gotten the information that, well, the settlements are much larger than the planetary ports and starports and whatever. But at the time, I was thinking of the settlements as smaller things. And then when I saw that clip of like, whoa, there's more buildings up the hill there, I was thinking to myself, like, okay,
small city.
Maybe it's not Astor's Hope 2. maybe it's Astor's Hope, and it's 2 as in like the second cluster of buildings, and 1 is up the hill, that first cluster of buildings, and this way is 3 and that way is 4, and that maybe it's going to be a bunches of clusters or something. And I just, that was another thing that I picked out from the video that I was like, whoa, this is cool. That's different than what I was sort of expecting.
It's possible.
Yeah. Did any of you notice in the dev diary when you have that view from inside the Cobra flying in the hangar, looking at the
no chevrons?
No.
Oh,
when you're in the Cobra view and you're flying in the hangar, they're flying over the building where the social hub is.
Mm-hmm.
You can't see through the windows.
Correct. I think those windows are like literally sort of flat gray or whatever.
Yeah.
I think the way that it works is this.
Placeholder.
I think that you are instanced when you land. So just the same way as now you're instanced when you land, in that I think what happens is you fly in and that's you. So you're seeing the stuff and you just see gray because you can't actually see inside of those windows no matter how close you would get. You land. When you land, your ship goes down the elevator as it does now, and that is the instancing demarcation line. And once you're inside the station, then it's fairly seamless for that part. But if you notice, like right now, remember a couple months back, somebody had said something to the effect of, I think it was Davstott had said something to the effect of, or maybe it was Luke Betterton on when they did the Lave thing. They said something to the effect of, like, let's say you're playing in solo mode, right? And you go to your fleet carrier. Let's say you happen to have a buddy at that exact same moment that's landing in your fleet carrier in a gold-plated beluga. You will see the gold beluga that your friend is flying land. You'll see it come on the launch pad. What they do is there's some...
You don't see it.
No.
It doesn't happen. Does not happen. Tested.
Do you remember when that was said? And so I guess you tested it.
It just doesn't happen.
To not be true?
Yeah, it just doesn't happen. Because I'm always flying a golden Corvette, and there's no one who has ever seen a Corvette land at my carrier that I am not in. And the same way that I have people who end up in different instances and come and land at my carrier. And there are certain ships that NPCs do not fly anywhere apart from conflict zones and signal sources. Corvette's one of them. That doesn't happen. I personally think the debarkation point will be when you leave the ship, because you can still see people when you down in the hangar bays. So I think that isn't an instancing point to that. That's how outposts can get people stuck there. Like, get off the pad! You know, it's sort of people are on there and they're inside and they're changing stuff over. I think the debarkation point will be when you do change your mode of gameplay, which would be going from ship to foot.
So do you think, Plater, that you're sitting in your seat, you've landed your ship in the hangar, you look down between your legs just now, like how you would do to get in the SRV, and instead you go to that panel and select exit ship, the screen goes black, and it comes up and you're either at the top or at the bottom of the steps of your ramp of your ship? Or what do you think?
Honestly, I can see Frontier doing that. I don't want them to. I want them to do something a bit more seamless. I don't know what that would be, though. I don't know how you do it without it being you press a button to get up in some way or look at a menu, because Elite is quite menu driven. God, that's a soft way of putting it. You know, that it is quite menu driven. That if you want to launch a fighter, you look at a menu. If you want to dock your ship, you look at a menu. If you want to deal with your fleet carrier, you look at a menu. If you want to get a mission, you look at a menu. If you want to sell something, you look at a menu. Like, you know, you get the point now, don't you?
Are there menus, you're saying, I think?
More than a cheap restaurant.
All right.
You know, it's like, I think that would be the quickest and easiest way to do it. I want Frontier to have not taken that as the way out. That's what I think. And also, something that I'm desperate to point out now is that, you know, we spoke about the social hub as being on the spike in the middle of the stations. That's not where they are.
No.
No. Just because we mentioned it
on the inner. Well,
yeah,
they're
inner
not
surface.
so far from the spike. Where they're at is on the inner side of the barrel, just like I was describing it on the Behemoth. You know, the inside of the barrel, and they spin it up to create the gravity.
But yeah, I just had to mention it because I know we mentioned it earlier about it being there and that's where we'd be. So
I don't think that Wotherspoon was saying they were on the spike. I think he was saying they were close to the spike, and the inside of the barrel is not that far from the spike as compared to the hub wheels outside, but it's not. You're, again, what I was saying is, and that's the point that I made to Wotherspoon, is that you're losing sight of the scale of, even though the inside of the barrel seems to us to be close because whatever, I think it's still like a mile apart or more. Like it's far. It's not close.
Something on the what you see and what you don't and what you instance with people is I've spoken a lot about scale in the Cobra engine before. Mainly my lack of understanding of how you would scale something. So let's say you've got the Cobra engine. Now that runs Planet Zoo, Planet Coaster, and Elite Dangerous. Now,
and Jurassic.
Yeah, and Jurassic World. So here's the thing. What is the size of an anaconda in the Cobra engine? Is it the hundreds of meters long that it is, or is it the same size as a tiger within the Cobra engine? So, because when you build something in an engine, you have a unit of measurements you use, and then you have a scale that you stick to. So that's kind of what I'm wondering. Or is how big is a space station? That's freaking huge. So you get this. It's like that's thousands of meters versus the hundreds for the anaconda versus the 2 for a human. And I'm wondering at what point there will be that, because are you rendering everything that you see from your eyes on foot exactly the same as it's being rendered if you were in your ship? In a station, this is. So in a station, because obviously when you're on ground, I'm going to say, yeah, you're going to be doing that because you have to, because you can see each other, interact with each other.
Sure.
But that's what I'm really wondering. That's something that's got me really kind of interested in the tech side of it.
A lot in you can see it when you're trying to approach fast-moving objects in Elite, that you kind of snap to them. At some point, you enter its sphere of influence space that you snap into that. And the way Frontier has solved having accuracy even at large scales, which is something that's normally very difficult to do, because at large scales you begin to get numerical inaccuracies. I have a whole video on that topic, by the way. And I think what they will then do is, if you go into a station, there's no point. I mean, the area of the station you are in, you will of course have to render that in relatively high details, but the opposite side of the barrel doesn't need the same level of detail as the one you're standing right next to. They don't need to render the plant at the same resolution at the other end that they should be close to.
Yeah.
So I think the way you would do it, I know we just have a single social hub, but if you were to move around the whole station, I would basically divide it into small grids, and you just render that grid, and that grid has a center, and each grid would then have its own center. And as you move between grids, just as if you approach a moon, you just jump into that frame of reference all the time, and then you just render your current grid and maybe the grid next to it. So you have just the local area rendered, and you don't render everything. I think the whole idea with the way they do it in the Cobra engine is that you constantly switch point of reference, and that's how you can allow to have large details on objects far apart.
But then I'm flying through the slot. I'm coming in, just as we've been shown in the video. Now, and what I'm seeing on foot going to be the same level of detail as everything the commander's seeing flying in?
No, like he's not snapped to that grid.
But are we going to be seeing all the same stuff?
Yes, but at different levels of detail. Yeah.
So because the way I'm thinking what it will be is that rather than me seeing essentially the same instance being rendered, I'm receiving information from that commander on their position, and my instance is therefore rendering it where they would be, but not to the same level of detail, because I don't need to see what's going on behind the social hub and all that kind of stuff.
Also, because that's how reality works. I mean, look at it this way. Let's say, Plater, you and I are having a beer, whatever, at a pub outside somewhere, okay? And we run out of beer, and I go to get more beers and bring them back to the table where you're sitting outside.
Yeah.
So now I've gotten up. We were close range. We were within, 2 meters. Then I get up and walk 50 feet over to the bar and say like, hey, I need another round of beers for me and my friend. I grab the 2 beers, I turn around and look at you at the table. Now you're 50 meters away from me. I have less details visible of you than I did when I was 2 meters apart, but I still have very good details view of you. Now let's say at this exact moment, Down to Earth flies over us in a Cobra at 10,000 feet. Obviously, he's going to see us as 2 little dots. He's not going to see us as the details of us the way I would see of you just being 50 feet away. I think it's the same thing, but just in smart people computer programming version.
What I am talking about with this, because I'm probably not explaining myself very well, but okay, if something is 50 meters away from me inside the social hub, but it's outside, but then you are 50 meters away from it in your Cobra, will we see the same thing? That's my big question.
When you say outside, I mean outside of a station or outside of a window or outside? It's outside in what context?
So, as in outside the window.
What you're asking?
But inside the station. So, like in the barrel.
Yeah.
In the central.
Yeah. I think we will. If I'm outside in my ship in the barrel and you two are standing inside getting drunk, looking out the window, and some idiot NPC in a beluga comes in and block the whole mail slot, I think we will both be able to see that beluga.
I wonder.
It's that kind of thing.
Yeah, I wonder about that, and specifically, here's what we know is going to happen, because this is a video game and people are stupid. What we're going to see people do for funsies, for the lulls, is take a beluga and fly right into that window, crash into it to scare all the people in the bar, whatever. I don't know if from the bar you'll see that beluga flying right up and then bounce off of the roof. I don't know. I wonder. Is that kind of what you were saying, Plater? Did I finally?
It's that kind of thing. It's like will we have the same experience? Will it be? Or will it just be a location-based kind of telemetry thing where it says, "Oh, there is an orca here. You can see it," or you can see this beluga on the way in. It's very close. It's very, very close now, but you don't need to know what its shields are doing because you're inside.
I have no clue to answer your question, but I'm very interested to find out. I can't wait. On day one, I'm definitely going to call my buddy Dubs and say, hey, fly your beluga. I'm going to be standing there at the window. Fly your beluga into it. I want to see at what point, if I see a beluga come through the mail slot, B, if I see a beluga approach the station. I think I believe can be done, because literally in the video, what they showed in the video in the first second of the Dev Diary 2, they showed the Cobra flying right over the bar. Well, we know that when you see the in cockpit footage, number one, again, no chevrons on the movement indicator. What the hell is that about? How long ago was this done? And number two, it shows that he was actually supposed to not even fly over the bar. He was supposed to go to landing pad 12 behind and to the left. So they did it for the purpose of capturing the footage. So I think they literally had a guy fly over there. So that gives me reason to believe that they will, unless they did it sort of with dev magic for the trailer purposes. But I don't know. That's all interesting. Did you guys notice no chevrons on the movement indicator there? Is maybe they're working on either A, this is old footage, or B, they're working on some weird different dev build that for some reason doesn't have the chevron indicator. I don't know why you would leave that out.
I think so. What it could be, I don't know, but what it could be is they have had 2 different teams working on Elite at the same time. One was doing the whole fleet carrier thing, and the other one was working on Odyssey at the same time. And I believe the new chevrons that you're talking about were introduced with the fleet carriers, right?
No, those were introduced in September of 2019. Those were introduced way back. It could still be that when you do software development, what you have is a versionized repository of your code. And what you then commonly do is when you start a new project, you make a branch of that code. So you say, whatever state it's in, I'm going to essentially take a copy and we're going to work on that copy. And when we're done, we're going to merge it in with the main branch.
So basically like rail tracks. So you go on your separate little rail tracks and you do all your work and you do your Odyssey. And when Odyssey is done, you push to master and then you push it out to all the clients out there. When that was made, when they did that original branching, I don't know, but that could be very old. They would probably have to merge in some of the other changes that has been done just so they don't end up, I mean, it wouldn't work if they were building it based on a version of the code that was over 2 years old and haven't done any imports from the other changes that's already gone live. That would probably end badly. But I think it's fair to assume that they could have made that branch a long time ago. And when that video was made, I mean, we don't know. They could have had that lying around for years already.
They've been working on this for a long time.
They have.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It's like a long time.
I'm just saying that when I saw that, that jumped out at me as another reminder of pretty much exactly what you're saying, Plater. Like, wow, that it really, you can get a skewed perspective just with the limited information that we have on this side. And then when you get little sneak peeks of things that make you wonder, like, whoa, could this theoretically have been something that they had in a certain sort of mode, at least that long ago? And that's just interesting to me.
Dunkelor made a good point when I talked about version 9 code, and he said, how many times have we seen old bugs being reintroduced after a patch? And yes, we have seen that quite a few times, and that could be a result that they maybe don't always correctly.
Now, I've got someone in my chat here, Old Crow Express, who says, but you normally branch off of a current master, not a previous version, and even so, you would merge the master into the branch on a regular basis to ensure stability. And all I can think is that the chevrons are a cosmetic change and minor and are unimportant to be merged. And that's the only thing I can think is like, oh, we don't need to worry about that. We just know that works and there'll be no conflict. You know, I'll leave it to one side.
I will be the first to tell you that whenever stuff like this, I notice stuff, but I think there are many other people in this conversation that are way smarter than me on this aspect that would know what that means. I just see it and go, you know. Let me ask you guys okay, go ahead.
I have no experience when it comes to game programming or programming whatsoever, but I have had a bit of experience with project management, so that's where my thoughts would be coming from for this. Logic.
Can I ask you guys something sort of unrelated to Dev Diary 2, but I think very much related to Odyssey theoretically, and makes me wonder? And I talked about this with Astro yesterday. I brought it up to him, and we had a little private conversation. With regard to the current CG,
yes,
I find it to be very, very interesting, and the reason for that is that they offer as a reward for the Liz Ryder side. Well, first off, let's look at the CG has 3 precedents that it's setting that I find interesting. The first precedent is if the Empire is victorious, Liz Ryder is going to go to an Empire prison and will be replaced. She will no longer be an engineer. And it says that if you have her leveled up already, that you will still have access to an engineer at that location, but the new representative will be an Empire citizen. Now, so number one, that I think is huge in that they're really showing with the narrative of this, they're potentially shaking up the map. They're giving the possibility of major things. If engineers and potentially power play people, I'm thinking, and I know that that's me leading whatever, I know, speculation, whatever, but if these sort of important people of that level, engineers and power play, are at risk, I think, you know, there's a thing, like a lot of cheesy, you know, 80s television shows, whatever, you dismiss it, it's bad writing, it's okay, you know that they're all going to win in the end, yada, yada, yada. But when you get a show like, you know, Game of Thrones, where like major characters that you're massively attached to could die or go away or whatever, that people find that super compelling and interesting, I think, for a reason that it raises the stakes and adds to the realism. So number one, you have an engineer here at peril. That's massive. And if that engineer goes away, will the new Empire engineer like just be a copy paste and it's still the same missile racks, it's still the same stuff, but it's a new face giving it? Or will that person give new stuff? That would be interesting, whatever.
I was under the impression that this engineer would be the same, but the unlock requirement would, rather than be like go and deliver a ton of landmines or whatever this wants, I think it's landmines, right?
Yes.
Then it was going to be a rank unlock, just like the cutter and systems unlock.
Maybe, but I mean, so that's changing yet another aspect of the mechanism of how that works, which is interesting. So that's the first precedent. The second precedent here is if Liz's side wins, you'll get an engineered module. I don't remember any CGs before giving engineered modules. That's something completely new and different. And the third precedent set here, if you read carefully the wording of what you actually get, it's not just an engineered module, it's a double engineered module. It says, and I quote, if victorious, supporters ending in the top 75% of contributors will have a fully engineered, lightweight, and high capacity Class 2 seeker missile rack with the thermal cascade put into storage for them at the blah, 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 blah. So you're talking about a high cap 5, lightweight 5 at the same time, two primary attributes, and the experimental effect of the thermal cascade.
I've been thinking about it since we talked about it yesterday. Unless you want to read it as you get a lightweight thermal cascade and a high cap thermal cascade.
It is double engineered. It definitely is.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it sounds like the wording is you have to really twist it if you want to understand it in the other way, that it's two separate modules.
That would be
sounds like an old engineered module. Yes.
If you are right, if that or theory is right, down to earth, Astro, and somebody worded it that way, meaning we're going to give you two fully engineered separate modules, fire that person. That person does not need to be writing fucking releases of information. But I suspect, and Plater just indicated he suspects that no, they're talking about a doubled engineered. So that's three amazing precedents there set in one CG.
I think the double engineering thing to me it's a double-edged sword here, because if that opens up for the possibilities that we in the future is going to be able to double engineer our modules, so we can put two on them. Maybe the second one's require double the materials, so it's going to be super expensive to do, but you can do it if you want to. That's one thing. The other thing is, if we're not going to be able to do this, then all of a sudden you're in a situation where people who played this community goal that's running right now will get access to a module that nobody is ever going to be able to get access to in the future. That
Correct.
means if you have someone who's been playing the game for years and they've been doing their community goals and they got all their double engineered modules that was part of those community goals, then some new guy, he's going to join tomorrow and he's never going to be able to get the same
Cobra Mark
experience.
IV?
Yeah, essentially the new Cobra Mark 4.
These aren't game changing though. They're like a seeker missile rack with two, any seeker missile rack isn't game changing. So.
But we have one module, but right now we're running a community goal a week almost, or every other week or something.
Every week?
Every week
Right now, yeah.
But this has to be special. Like if you were to keep introducing things like this, this particular thing would lose its special. It would start to lose its appeal to people. And I don't see us having double engineering being introduced ever. Engineering is so... God, could you imagine having a plasma accelerator that is both efficient and overcharged at the same time?
Yeah.
Sorry, I had to.
Long-range prediction, for instance, such that you both give reduction to thermals. There are at least two or three, I think, on the PAs that give reduction to the thermal output of them. Mm-hmm. That would make them outraged, and you just completely negate the downside of running PAs.
Running cold plasmas, yeah. Now, here's something that we all need to keep in mind. When they've already stated publicly that their design philosophy for community goals is that they're minimal effort, maximum impact, using existing in-game resources. One would think this is a whole new sort of level of, you would have to create a system to be able to double engineer modules. This is, I think, an inordinate...
the systems, in the code, there's nothing preventing a module from having two engineering modifications on it. They just never enabled us to allow us to do it. But like the technical side behind it could support that. It could have been there all the time. They're just only now enabling it.
I just wonder if either A, this is a portent of in Odyssey you'll be able to double engineer your stuff, theoretically, possibility, who knows, maybe not. And B, or no, in CGs in the future we're gonna sometimes give out a weapon that has a double engineer or whatever, and it might not be, I don't think it's game changing with regard to this one missile rack, but if 3 months from now, 12 CGs later, out of those 12 CGs, 3 of them give some double engineered module, you might end up with a couple months from now, a ship that now has 4 double engineered, 3 new ones plus the one that we're talking about here, double engineered weapons of some type, that if you were to put them together, could actually have a serious effect. And I think, I'll be honest with you, if they introduce double engineering, I absolutely will jump on board and be the first guy to double engineer all of my stuff, because yes, I'm a min-maxer, but for the good of the game, like what I think would be healthy and viable and a good choice, I'm not so sure that I think that would be a good idea for them to introduce double engineered modules.
I don't think it's going to happen.
I don't think it's going to happen either, and I think it would be too powerful, to be honest, if you could double engineer them. Unless there's like, oh, if you do it, you lose half the effect of one, and then you get like half of each out of those. There could be ways to balance it, but overall, I would much rather see new engineering modifications, new experimental effects, rather than just saying, hey, you can now do twice of everything.
Engineering is such a delicate balance. Like, at the moment, it is so delicate, and it is tipped in certain places, which is why you have, the PvP meta of your 3 plasmas, 2 rails. Like, there is a reason why that's the meta. And if you were to double engineer stuff, it would throw it either way too far, where it's impossible to be remotely even think of being competitive, unless you have a single build, and it would be only a single build because of min-maxes.
Even more so than that, if you scale it back to a larger scope, why you have the PvP meta of the Fertilance. I mean, the Fertilance was just meh before engineering, because the Fertilance was such a tricky thing to get with regard to your power requirements, your power usage consumption requirements, that you could make a glass cannon Fertilance, or you could make a super weak but highly effective and mobile Fertilance, but you couldn't have a decently tanky and good offensive capable Fertilance. And then when they brought in the power plant engineering, and to a lesser extent, but still adding on to that effect, the power distributor engineering, it made Fertilances much more attractive as a whole. Yeah. I just thought I wanted to ask you guys, so like Plater, you haven't answered yet. You talked about one aspect. What do you think about the idea of this CG is bringing in the concept of an engineer in peril? Like, an engineer could go away. Now, let's be honest, they're not gonna, because everybody's gonna run for her for the missile rack, but it could happen in theory. At least it's an option that they had to accept when they put that on the table, if people were going to call their bluff. What do you think about that?
Let's face it, the engineer won't disappear. This person, Liz Ryder, means nothing to me. I have no emotional investment. If I were to roleplay it, she means nothing to me either. She's just someone that provides a service to the Ploid when he needs it, as does everybody, because that's the way the Ploid is. But for me personally, Liz Ryder, I have her. I don't even know what she does.
Missile racks and stuff like that.
Yeah, never used.
One that wants 200 metric tons of landmines.
Yeah, I've unlocked her to get to someone else, and if there's someone else with a different skin there, I don't care. And then that's what it would be. It would just be a reskin for a majority of players, where if they came in afterwards, they wouldn't know anything's happened. So I don't feel like, to me personally, I think it's a big change. It would potentially just be a reskin, which is why everyone will go, yeah, don't really like the Empire though, because there's more people that don't like the Empire for different reasons than will dislike this engineer.
Well, that
and
is
I feel
asymmetrical rewards.
Yeah,
If you fight
again,
for
for that.
her, you defend her side and get missile racks. If you fight for the Empire, you defend their side and get bupkis.
Yeah, you don't get anything for it. So I think that's really kind of off-putting. But then it's encouraging people to engage no matter what. Because you have to be in the top 75% in order to get the reward, I'm having to continue to do the community goal rather than dipping in, getting my reward and clearing out.
Just go ham and get yourself in the top 10%, and then just F off
Sit
for
back.
the week, and you'll still be in the top 75.
I'm in
by
top
the end.
25 at the moment.
You're good then. You're
so
good.
I'm hoping, but you never know, because today is only Saturday and there's a whole rest of the weekend to go. And
Now here's why you know, because there's a majority of disinterested players who, as you say, don't really give a damn about her or the Empire, are going to do just enough to get in to the top 75, and then they're out. They're going to cash out.
But they have to wait for the community goal to finish to know they're in the top 75. And there
that's
are
true.
always overachievers out there. I would know, because he stares back in a mirror.
But I'm saying, I'm pointing out, I think, like, let's look at the effects that happen. Let's just look at, what was it, October 1st, okay? Just Thursday, October 1st. Here's what happened in the Elite Dangerous Galaxy. Number one, from the change went into effect, the upgrade of 10 stations from little outposts to big either Coriolis or Orbis stations, which added to the population of those systems, which changed things within the BGS, which changed things within the markets. They had a list of stuff that they posted on that tweet that they're like, all of this stuff is going to be more valuable now. It changes tritium, it changes. All of that happened from a CG from 2 weeks prior. In addition, a ton of the population of the game got Akinar permits for the first time. People that hadn't already fallen under the allure of the cutter got their Akinar permits. Where I propose major story will be happening in the coming weeks based off of just common sense and looking at 80% of the storyline right now revolves around some form of warfare, whether it's leftist guerrillas or a false flag, who knows, whatever, to be determined, whatever, but stuff is happening around the Duvall family in Akinar.
What do you think will happen? Let's assume, because it definitely looks like it's going to be the outcome of this community goal, that this rider is going to win this and the Empire is going to lose.
Yeah.
It would be weird if the Empire just went, okay. I mean, she just made a bomb and blew up some of their stations.
Allegedly. And
okay.
also, she doesn't. Engineers don't make enzyme missiles. Tech brokers do. So whichever tech broker gave it to these people, not her. So I'm like, it's a lie. The whole thing's a lie.
On top of that, I'm like, bruh, the person who's making the person that's making the allegations is Denton Petraeus. This is the dude who literally had his buddy whack an emperor a few years back because his little hottie wanted to move up the line. I'm not trusting a word out of his mouth. Convince me I'm wrong.
Don't need to.
So, yeah.
Truth.
I'm telling you right now. Now look. In the end, we have several more CGs and Galnet stories and plot twists and whatever until we get to the end of this little mystery. But in the end, when us Scooby commanders pull the hood off of the big bad NMLA, I think we're going to find it's most likely right now, this is just my hunch, this is Arissa Lavinia Duvall whacking unfortunate branches of her family tree that she wants to old school get rid of, like she's one of the Italian princes from back in the day, that you want to get rid of the other city-state leaders that have a claim to your throne because you want to make sure that your authority is uncontested. If we see the NMLA make a move for blue hair girl, and if we see the NMLA make a move for Hadrian, And if we see them make a move for
Ellie,
other, go ahead.
What's her name? Blue haired.
Aisling Duvall.
She's after Howard Duvall, her dad.
Yeah, Harold Duvall was her dad.
Harold. After he died, she's next in line, right?
He was already kind of
disinherited.
Yeah, disinherited, and said you're not getting anything because of his horror,
Yes.
which
But
actually resulted in her birth.
Yeah, well, so as a result of him being, because it's a situation, even though she was born before he was disinherited, the fact that he was disclaimed or whatever by the throne invalidates completely her argument to being in the line of succession. So technically, if you were to follow the rules of whatever, the person right now that I think has the strongest claim against Arissa Lavigny Duvall, I just always say ALD, the person who has the strongest claim against her for the throne would be Hadrian. But I think that we might find the NMLA go after Hadrian. Although, if you were to ask, I think, empirical citizens of the empire, empirical is not the right word, but if you were to ask citizens of the empire, I think they would tell you the strongest challenge to the throne right now is Aisling, because she seems to have a lot of the love of the people to a certain extent.
She's more progressive as well.
Generators, and we like prismatic shits.
Prismatics are good.
I mean, and also she's Inara from Firefly, which is crazy hot, but with blue hair, which fine, I'll deal with it.
All he has to do is just to go out and say, hey, if you put me at the throne, I will give free prismatic shields to everybody.
Yeah.
And look at the number of people that will show up, and they will shoot every single piece of lead available in the galaxy and everything that moves.
I just feel that, to me, this whole NMLA thing, it just reeks of false flag. This reeks of a person in power taking, the Marlinists have been around for forever without being this crazy violent whatever, and then to have access to the level of weaponry and sophistication of weaponry needed to take on those stations and in a coordinated manner the way that they did, and to get access to infiltrate those stations and move all the stuff in and have it all set up out of nowhere, like, this is a bit much. I think this is way more likely to be a situation like in the early 2000s with Putin making false flag stuff and then using that as an excuse to go murder bunches of Chechens. I should not have brought real
That's a
politics
bit
into this.
political for my stream there.
Yeah. My apology. I take it all back. I don't trust it, is all I'm saying.
No, it wouldn't surprise me if the Federation was somehow involved, or my initial thought is that it's actually down to Inra attempting to make it look like Thargoids are a bigger threat. That was my initial thought until we had the old No. I mean Inra making a comeback. The original. They're not the same flavored chocolate. They're different. One's fruit and nut. Oh, the other one's got an Oreo filling. They're different. But I think it's something. I thought it was something like that. But then obviously the NMLA came out and said, it's us. It was us. I was like, all right.
Do you think that this sets, because okay, like I said, there's the three precedents. There's the engineer in peril. We addressed that, I think. Astro, what is your thoughts on the engineer in peril?
I think it's interesting that they're gonna do that, and I like that they're not afraid to throw things up in the air. Things that is, I mean, they've done it before. They moved Payton. I know it's like a small thing that they moved him closer to the bubble, because now they have another engineer that's like hello, I'm far away. That's my thing, kind of. So, yeah, I never really understood why they added Chloe. I think like it seemed like they wanted to encourage people to spend a lot of time out there in the Witcher, but then nothing happened. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
I've never visited Chloe. Have you? I don't think we think
Of course.
No.
I've got her pinned. I've got everybody pinned. Every last engineer in the game.
I went out there once, when it was first inhabited by humans, and then came back, and then they added the engineer. And I'm like, ugh.
I have a weird OCD thing. I have to have it all. So I have everyone pinned, including her.
Okay,
I even took stuff out to that weirdo who wanted people in Etienne Dorn.
So I have her unlocked, but she's at level 1.
Noob.
Good scrub.
brother.
I
Yeah.
have nothing pinned there either. I was just okay.
Yeah.
And I haven't done the either yet.
All right, so we've all now gone on record on our thoughts on the engineer and peril side, and on the double engineering side. Now, what about the second part? What, this is the second unprecedented thing here is, engineered modules for a CG. Do you think that, as we've been seeing one a week every week thus far at 100% rate since they reintroduced this stuff, do you think that we're going to start to see, they said there would be varied rewards and up to and including even, they said, because when they were asked, what about permits? And Art said, oh, yeah, that would be a reward. I'm not going to say anything. Do you think we're going to see more engineered modules given out as CG rewards? And what do you think about that?
I hope. But they would have to be, I think, so let's say they just gone with, let's say it is, as we discussed earlier, it's a split, so you get a lightweight thermal cascade and a high capacity thermal cascade. If you get them as two separate, I probably wouldn't be so excited about it as the community goal. I would probably be flying my ult out exploring instead right now than running this community goal. But the fact that this is a thing that you can only get through this community goal makes it very interesting.
But you are the top 1%, bro. Imagine for a second if you were
10% right now.
No, you're the top 1% of commanders in the game. I'm saying, imagine if you were a brand new player to Elite, that you're like, oh crap, I gotta go through this process and get these engineers sorted. Oh wait, there's a CG where I can get it. Okay, yeah, I'll go get that one. That could have some value, some interest for onboarding newer players, yeah?
True.
Plater, your thoughts on the whole rewards modules for CG?
I think it is a very exciting first step to more useful things. For example, we could have an exploration community goal where suddenly you end up getting a better detailed surface scanner. It's pre-engineered, so you've got your extended probe thing, and you've suddenly it's like stuff like that. I think it's a really, really good idea. The idea of introducing these things that you can only get in certain places are good. None of them are game changers. None of them are going to give you a particularly unfair advantage over other people. I mean, you can only first map a planet once, based on what I was saying, and in the same way with this missile launcher, Seeker missile, this is not going to win you PvP fights. This is not going to let you take people out so much quicker. It just might make things a little bit easier in circumstances.
Not when you only have one, but
yeah,
if they continue this, a year down the line, when you all of a sudden you also have a double engineered power plant, and you have a double engineered thrusters, and you have double engineered.
Oh, wait, hold on, Astro. Lightweight, long range sensors.
We talked about it yesterday. So imagine this: you get long range overcharged thermal vent beam lasers. Those things are gonna cool you down. They're gonna go instantly. Boom, you're cold.
Yeah, but that's the thing. It's like I say, that would be a game changer. This missile launcher isn't, and so I think the rewards would be very carefully picked to make sure that they aren't.
Because they can make them way overpowered.
And another question with that is, will we be able to change the experimental effect?
Yeah, we discussed that.
Yeah.
And if we can, very interesting. I'm not going to be the first to try.
Yep. Asper and I had the exact same thought. You go first. If it works and it doesn't overwrite everything, I'll go get mine.
Drag munitions. Eek. And also one thing is, we were talking about the opportunity to be able to have these two different effects on it at the same time. That is totally capable. The same way you can have effects that you cannot get on player engineering on ships weapons that you can, ATR for example. They have got reverb cascade lasers.
What about that they all of a sudden introduce engineered modules that we cannot engineer today? Engineered mining lasers.
Yeah, long range mining lasers.
Long range mining lasers.
Efficient mining laser. Long range efficient.
Dude,
Yeah.
overcharged mining lasers, that it goes that much faster.
So you, like an efficient small mining laser, so you could put that on like a smaller ship where you didn't have to worry so much about your. That would be really helpful for a new player if they had an efficient small mining laser.
Would you put it on perhaps a dolphin, Astro?
I love mining dolphins.
I know you do. I love that video you did.
Type 6 or I think Type 6 is on
It's
paper
fly.
a better choice, but oh my god, I love the dolphin, and it's so much nicer to fly.
And it never overheats.
Mm-hmm. And it's like a dolphin when you boost.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway,
So one thing we talked a lot about suits. One thing we did not cover at all, and it's a little side whatever, so it's good that we put this on the after show. But like, I contend that Frontier is going to make a massive amount of money in the first quarter of 2021 off of selling for arcs either different glams, different boots, different hats, different shirts, different jacket. You know, I got a leather jacket, I got a ninja looking outfit, I got a whatever.
cool.
And also, okay, I've got my combat suit, but I've got this kind of I've got like a decal for this on the shoulder. I've got a decal for this on you know, the back. I've got whatever. I think they're going to make a lot of arcs money off of glam options for all these suits.
And don't get me wrong, I'm going to be in front of the line.
Yep, same. Did you say
Well, not only
gold
that-
boots? Gold boots?
Yeah, why not? For Ployd, absolutely, it fits. Not so. Number one, yes, I want that, and number two, not only do I want that from a selfish standpoint, but I love that about Frontier, where so many other games are falling to the dark side of loot box type crap or paying for in-game advantages of one sense or another. Frontier, and David Braben specifically, has held strong to the idea of, we'll make our money off of you looking pretty, we're not going to make our money off of you getting an advantage. And I love that and salute that.
Yeah. And you could there are even games that still only has cosmetics, but it's cosmetic in loot boxes, so you just keep going for more and more loot boxes because you want that specific paint job that you're looking for, but it's just never showing up because the good looking ones are very rare, yada yada yada.
Very predatory.
Yeah, I like the fact that you say, I want that paint job,
Hello
there's
there.
a price tag, and you can pay that price tag and then you have the thing. And and I don't see Frontier changing that, and I really don't hope they do.
Absolutely.
Agree on that.
Okay, do you guys have any more topics, or should we begin to round it off for today?
I'm happy to round down. I think we've kind of beaten everything to death, haven't we?
Yes. And we'll do the same thing next time. That's
Yeah. It's what we're going to do next month. The same thing we do every month. Try and take over the world. Wait.
No,
I still got like 5 pages of notes. I guess we'll do that next show.
That wouldn't it wouldn't surprise me if you did. Oh.
I got notes.
Well, I want to say thank you
No,
for you
I'm
guys.
good to end that.
Like for again having a really good discussion. I appreciate it.
and keeping it nice and friendly.
Absolutely.
Low sodium.
Thank you so much to you, Astro, for your input and your insight, and thank you to you, Plater, for your input and insight, and also to Wotherspoon, who was lovely and had to leave just a little while ago. You guys are great.
Yeah, it's been absolutely great,
Aww.
and people have been enjoying both, regardless of whether you are watching this live on my or Plater's channel or gonna watch the VOD version. I assume you're gonna put that up, Kai, at some point.
Oh, absolutely. I will. I got to deal with a house emergency as soon as we're done recording, but I literally just killed the pipe because I had a small drip leak and a plumbing thing that I have to deal with. But I will this weekend put up this episode. And the last thing I want to say, I just want to leave on this thought. It occurs to me when I first put together this group, and we called it the Low Sodium Superfriendos, because at the time there seemed to be a good aspect of the community, a good portion of it, that was feeling a little salty and a little whatever. And have you guys noticed that it seems like a lot of people have come around to our way of thinking of like cautiously optimistic, but not openly hostile and like, derogatory towards it. I think the feeling of the community is really coming around in a positive way, and I think that's great.
Instantly had a guy in chat that goes, nope.
Okay, well,
I think
fair point.
it depends where you look. It does depend where you look, and people are entitled to their opinions.
Overall, the Odyssey update has been very positively received, and I think it is. If there was something and people were really not happy with it, I think you would still have salty people everywhere. So I don't necessarily think it's because the community has necessarily changed that much. I think it's just people are very happy with the Odyssey update as it stands right now. Might be a negative look at the world, but I think that's the case.
No, that's what my read as well.
Okay. Anyway, I'm gonna be signing off. I'm just gonna do my own little outro on the stream. Thanks a lot, guys, for joining, and for those of you watching again, stay tuned to all the channels. To be honest, both, of course, my channel, Plater. I hope that we're gonna get a link for. Don Glor, can you help me with that? A link for both Plater and Kai's channels in the chat, so people can go over there, check them out if they want to check that out. And we're gonna be here again in about a month's time, doing another roundtable, talking about the next Dev Diary, assuming that's when it comes out at least.
In the meantime, for my crowd, I only do elite stuff. I'm super hyper focused, but I definitely want to turn everybody in here onto Down to Earth Astronomy and Plater. Both do amazing stream covering. I'm sure they'll be covering Star Wars. I'm sure they'll be covering, they do, Satisfactory and this one and that one, all these different games. So instead of just the boring guy that only does elite, look into these awesome content creators. They have amazing channels.
I think it goes for both me and Plater that elite is the main focus, and then other things that's like extra sometimes.
Yeah.
For sure. Well, thank you. And cheers, guys. I'll catch you later.
Catch you later.
Ciao.
Right, guys. I am also going to be ending my stream now because it's that kind of time. Been streaming for 3 hours and 15 minutes, which makes it a hell of a long one. So, I'm going to do something that I normally do in my vlog channel. Is I give away the secret word at the end of a video, and I ask people to leave it in the comment section who watch it after to see if they make it all the way to the end. So can you do me a favour and can you type the word turnip down in the comment section when the video is live? You don't have to do it during chat, but after the video is finished, because I'm just interested to see if anyone actually watches to the end on the VOD. Why not? Give it a go, see what happens. But right, guys, I'm going to say once again thank you very much for watching. Commander Plater, out.